The Male Advantage, a step-by-step blueprint for reaching outlier male status. 1 in 4 men are happy according to studies, which tells you everything you need to know about the current state of male life. We've become weak both mentally and physically, yet society still isn't satisfied with our demise. We're currently being attacked from every angle and coerced into living lives we've never dreamed of living. The moment we contest this, we're labelled as chauvinistic, mansplaining, Harvey Weinstein sympathizers. We've lost our rites of passage, independence, and ability to think for ourselves. The majority of modern men are no more than empty shells living cookie-cutter lives in order to please society. James Brown once said, "This is a man's world. In the modern era, we're more like tenants renting from our female landlords. We think we own the place, but at any time she could shut the lights off and take back control." Although many men believe they're powerful and independent, the way their lives are built resemble female life goals. Marriage, desire to become a young father, mortgage with steady payments, monogamy, no swearing in the house, relegated to the man cave, glorified garage, an entire weekend spent furniture shopping. Anyone familiar with male biology will tell you these traits do not resemble anything close to a man's world. Men may earn more, have higher natural strength and testosterone, but we use this concoction to make sure the women in our lives achieve their goals at our detriment. To see an example of this, we can look at marriage. An unwritten law claims that men should spend 3 months' wages on an engagement ring. The vast majority of men have no desire to get married. They're simply doing it in order to retain access to sex. Yet in order to satisfy the woman's goals, we go along with the Disney charade and kiss goodbye to a quarter of our yearly salary post-tax. To put this into perspective, the average man at the time of writing this earns $30,000 per year. After tax, this means you're taking home just $2,000 per month. This means the unwritten law expects you to spend $6,000 on an engagement ring. $6,000 invested in Bitcoin in 2010 would be worth $210 million today. For guys celebrating their 10-year anniversary this year, I apologize for that crippling fact. This is the core element as to why 1 in 4 men are unhappy. Throughout our lives, we throw away major life-changing and masculine opportunities in favor of female-driven goals. This leads to a middle-aged man working 12 hours per day in a job he hates to sustain a life she pressured him into by using sexual value as a bargaining tool. Freedom. As a man, there's no equal. Having low bills, 100% ownership, control over your time, money, and decisions is an unmatched way to achieve happiness. There's a reason why the book you're reading was self-published and fully paid for by myself. Every time a purchase is made, I receive 100% of the profits. My entire life has been built this way. I would rather miss out on short-term bragging rights in exchange for long-term happiness. This goes for life, success, women, fitness, and anything else we as men are faced with tackling in order to sit on top of the society hierarchy. This book is a blueprint for modern men all around the world, laying out the most fail-proof system for finding success in life, with women, and in terms of male happiness. I hope this book is as influential to this and preceding generations of men as Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill was in the last century. For anyone familiar with my First Man brand, all teachings within this book are a collection of articles, podcasts, and videos millions of men have now watched and gained something from, all compiled into a life-changing roadmap for men. Let me teach you about the most important concept you'll ever discover. The single belief the entire First Man brand has been built around since its inception as MSI College. The Male Advantage. Part 1. Mentality. The early struggle and finding your male purpose. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. Rocky Balboa, Rocky 6. Some of you may recognize this quote from Rocky 6. I don't think truer words has ever been spoken. For men. There's a very distinct difference between how men and women live, which we'll talk about in depth later on in this book. On the surface, all you need to know is that there's no get-out-of-jail card for men. A woman can reach 18 and sit at the top of the social hierarchy by simply existing. An 18-year-old woman with a perfect body and a model face, who's never stepped foot in a gym and eats junk food all day, can marry a billionaire due to equal value. On top of this, if things aren't going as planned for a woman, she can simply get pregnant. Suddenly, overnight, she has a purpose, and a man is required to provide. Family members, friends, society in general deem it totally acceptable for her to claim the job title, mother, and spend the next 4 years raising the child. Once that child goes to school, she has the option of getting pregnant again and again, and the pressure to take care of this growing family will fall on the man or men involved. On the other hand, a stay-at-home dad gets ridiculed by men and the friends and family of the woman, often labelled weak or soft. As men, we have no shortcuts, no excuses, no get-out-of-jail cards that we can cash in if things aren't going well. We reach 18 and the story is wildly different to that of our female counterparts. We're skinny, spotty, awkward, broke, unemployable, weak-minded, thirsty, you name it, we're bad at it. A man's value at 18 is near the bottom of society's ladder. Women see you as immature, and other men see you as an inexperienced child. We begin our adult lives with no purpose, no real direction. Unlike women who know they want to get married, have children, and live in a 4-bedroom house in the country, men are faced with the challenge of navigating the rough terrain known as our late teens and 20s. A 12-year period that will either make you or break you depending on your actions and decisions. If things aren't going well by 25, having kids will only exacerbate things. If things aren't going well by 28, no one will want to marry you. If things aren't going well by 30, no rich woman is stepping in to buy you a house and a car in exchange for sex. Men are hilariously positioned in their early life, and there's no shortcut to fix this. The only solution is to grind and learn how to be proactive versus being a complainer. The majority of people are born poor. If you're a man without an exceptional talent, i.e. LeBron James type skills, then your route to success / a good male life is going to be pretty similar to the man who bought this book before you and the one who purchased this book after you. The entire purpose of a man's early life is to grind, create, learn and stay in the trenches for as long as their willpower will allow, and then a little longer to make sure it's cemented. By doing this, you give yourself the best possible platform / foundation for a successful male life. The men who recognize that their teens and 20s are worth trading for their 30s and 40s and 50s will forever rule the world. This is the catalyst for male depression. Most men will arrive at 18 full of optimism, believing that by 25 they're going to be a millionaire with 20 models on their hit list. Truth is, the majority of men will arrive at 30 having only just made some level of progress. As wrong as this will sound to men under 25 who are currently full of optimism, the men 30 and over will implore you to follow this prediction. This doesn't mean you cannot be successful young, it also doesn't mean you shouldn't try. What you should take from this is to expect hardship and to make patience your greatest weapon. Those men who spend their 20s chasing get-rich-quick schemes, women, parties and other naive time-wasting exploits will suffer in an amplified manner in their 30s. If lessons are not learned and their 30s follow a similar pattern, then the consequences aren't worth thinking about. Male depression and increased suicide rates haven't happened by accident. As life pressures increase and competition becomes more fierce year after year, the desire to keep up with the Joneses traps men in a vicious cycle of pretending to be fulfilled until honesty hits them like a ton of bricks. A young man must be willing to sacrifice the years that everyone else abuses and takes for granted in order to reveal the hidden treasures of being born a man. Throughout the remaining pages of this book, that hidden treasure will be revealed to you. Some may have realized it already, others may find this wisdom on the final page. Regardless of when it hits you, your life will never be the same again. We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't. And we're slowly learning that fact, and we're very, very pissed off. Tyler Durden, Fight Club. Any man can go from a 1 to a 10. You cannot control the cards you're dealt, just how you play the hand. Randy Pouch. Whether you're born 6'4", Swedish, the body of Hercules, and a trunk only a horse would be proud of, or born with none of that, the game still has the same rules. Naturally, the man born with everything and more will have an easier go of things, especially in the earlier days, but life really is a game of use it or lose it. A man born with a perfect body who drinks, smokes and eats junk food isn't going to look as good as a man with an average body who dedicates 10 years to the gym and clean eating. Of course, there's nothing stopping the good-looking guy doing the exact same thing, and under these circumstances it would be hard to compete. However, Why would you be competing? In order to have a good male life, you don't need to make sure everyone else has a terrible one. The fact there are better looking men than you, taller men than you, or men with bigger muscles than you are irrelevant to your own life. Everyone's journey is independent to them, and as the quote says above, how you play the hand. The genetic lottery has been the bane of many a man's existence, so much so they wallow in their own self-pity and never attempt to make the best of the cards they were given. This tends to lead to an unfulfilled life where they blame luck or God being against them. These are the guys you see at 50 sat in front of a TV, disgruntled and telling everybody else there's no point or she's out of your league. Becoming this man is the ultimate failure for your existence. The cards you were dealt do not define you. Due to many self-improvement methods, any man can go from a 1 to a 10 with enough patience and hard work. Throughout this book, you will come to realize that your fate is far from set in stone. Regardless of genetics, financial means, or surrounding opportunities, any man can rise up via the methodology of aggregation of marginal gains. The aggregation of marginal gains. A term coined in cycling by Team Sky. The concept follows an easy system. Instead of attempting to make large and unrealistic improvements, improve hundreds of components by a single percentage point in order to create an accumulation effect. In other words, the aggregation of marginal gains. It's unrealistic to suggest that one could grow by 5 inches via self-improvement. We all know this. But wearing a shoe with a 1-inch heel is a welcomed strategy for nearly every man on planet Earth, including the tall ones. It may be out of one's reach to get an 8-pack and a gigantic chest, but hitting the gym 5 days per week and achieving a well above average frame is within any man's grasp. The idea here isn't to be the best at everything. The idea is to become well-rounded and multifaceted. Should you focus on one area of lack, then this area will torment you for the rest of your life. Millions of men around the globe, past, present, and I expect future, will bemoan their height as if it's the only thing that matters, and we're all giraffes fighting to eat from the higher branches to achieve mating rights and basic survival. The reality is to the contrary. A man born as a perceived 1 out of 10 can do the following step by step and achieve a 10 status in the eyes of the wider public. Note, many of the step/unfamiliar terms mentioned will be explained later in this book. 1 out of 10. Gym and clean eating for 4 years. Add in lean muscle and an overall size increase along with a low body fat percentage. This individual now has a great body and a more defined face. Low body fat is pretty much the main key to having an attractive male face. Anything under 10% body fat will rank you up in the top 5% of men for facial attraction. Add a large frame and the combination is game changing. 5 out of 10. The above step alone will rank any man around a 5 out of 10 regardless of looks or other flaws. If 3 out of 4 men are overweight in the modern era, an in-shape man will comfortably sit at a 5, or in other words, average. From here, a man can begin to broaden his self-improvement range. Your body is not the only thing that can be improved. Orthotropics and neck/submental exercises will give you a facelift like you've never seen. These concepts will be explained in depth later in this book. For the time being, you will have to trust that this will turn any 5 into a 7. Why not higher if you have face and body? If you were a woman, you'd already be a 10. But as we all know, men are very much ranked based on qualities outside of the physical. Our ability to provide is seen in the eyes of a woman as sought out, if not more so, than being attractive. 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. The golden zone. This is where your life will dramatically change. In fact, later in this book is an entire chapter regarding the subject of 7 out of 10. It's now time to move away from the physical and focus on becoming a well-rounded man. A successful and by nature rich man will always be ranked highly on the social hierarchy by both men and women. Achieving success/any level of wealth status will elevate a man by minimum 1 point and in extreme levels of wealth up by 3. A 7 out of 10 millionaire will suddenly become a 10 in the eyes of women. A 5 out of 10 man making 6 figures a year will become a 7. A man making a good living enough to provide for a family, perhaps 50k per year, will be seen as an option. Mature, having his shit together. Nothing to write home about, but it may give him an added point in the eyes of lower value women, and in the eyes of high value women, he simply won't lose any points, which is something within itself. The average man may not possess the creative abilities required to reach billionaire or decamillionaire status, but hard work and grit will take you far enough. Any man has 100,000 to 250,000 per year within his grasp if he's willing to work for it and make the necessary sacrifices. A 7 out of 10 making 250,000 per year will instantly be viewed as a winner within the eyes of men and women alike, achieving the noteworthy score of 8 or 9 out of 10 depending on the judge. A woman who has been exposed to high-level men will see you as an 8. The majority of the general public will see you as a 9, which is a very good life if you were to stop there. 9 out of 10. How does one reach the upper limit of being a 10 out of 10? It's done one of two ways. Be a 6'4" handsome millionaire with a perfect body, or more likely for the rest of us, follow the steps laid out above and add the mental and external qualities. Sense of humour, confidence, charisma, intelligence, cultured, skilled at a craft. The list goes on. This isn't to say you cannot deploy a mixed bag. One could plausibly be confident, well-dressed, funny, positive, a leader, wealthy, and caring, and achieve a 10 in the opinion of many women and men. However, for universal 10 status, the physical traits have a consistent impact. It's important not to put too much importance on the physical, but at the same time to be aware of its importance for opportunities/ease of life. 10 out of 10. You see, whichever starting point you are positioned in life, there's a way to climb the ladder. It's not about being the first to reach the top. It's about making sure you push yourself as close as your limitations will allow. Why suffer with a bad hand when you can play to its full potential and make your life better than it currently is? A female life is like betting on your horse to be the fastest in a flat, straight line, short distance race. If it's not, then other strategies must be deployed. This is why so many women are opting for surgery. They've drawn the same conclusion I have here. A man's life, however, is more like a long-distance race with fences, corners, hills, downhills, varied terrains, water jumps, and more. If you're not the fastest, no problem. There's plenty more obstacles to tackle that will better suit your skill set. A tall, good-looking man who lacks 2 brain cells to rub together will fall flat on his face in the game of life if he were to do nothing about it. Income will be hard to acquire, riches will always be a distant dream, he will always need and have a boss telling him what to do, and social skills will prevent him from landing a top-level partner who may be looking for qualities outside of the physical or as well as. Social value may be a term you've heard before, but never truly understood. The one thing you must remember when it comes to social value is that women know theirs and they'll use it to their advantage. Women will only ever date up or on their own level. I repeat, women will only ever date up or on their level. Knowing this simple fact alone will lay out your game plan clearer than you ever saw it before. If you're not attracting the women you find attractive, then the system works perfectly. You're simply not on their level and 100% not above them. Social value is a beautiful measurement for men. It's a radical candor that tells you exactly what you need to know whilst providing support for progression. We currently live in a world that will tell you how special you are when you fail. Social value, on the other hand, will show you your black and white society positioning and outline as to why things aren't going your way socially and relationally. Below is a breakdown of modern day 2020/2021 social value. Social value hierarchy. From top to bottom. Famous people and billionaires, 0.0001%. Outlier males, 1%. 8 to 10s, women, 5%. Rich men, 4%. Physical rarity, a 7.5 out of 10, 5%. 6s and 7s, women, 25%. Good-looking men, 10%. General public, 50%. Let's break this down and explain what each block means in relation to the next and your own position/navigation of the hierarchy. General public. This 50% block is everyone you walk past on the street and don't take notice of. Space fillers, if you would. It's likely many men reading this are in this block. But don't worry, because this is only temporary if you have the slightest level of ambition. Mr. and Mrs. Average and everyone below sit within this block and tend to stick together. These are the people who focus on marriage, babies and mortgages like their lives depend on it. They marry young, they obsess over finding the one, and their entire value revolves around being wanted by someone/anyone. The women in this block are 1s to 5s, and they worship celebrities, handsome men, and anything unobtainable to them. They're the type of people you see at a One Direction concert. The men in the general public block are unambitious, happy to take the back seat in life, disregard their physical health, and see women as prizes rather than equals. They will worship beautiful women and likely follow them on social media. These are the men funding OnlyFans. Good-looking men. There's a giant misconception when it comes to good-looking men. Most men believe that these guys sit at the top of society and can get any woman they want. In reality, good-looking men sit very low down on the social hierarchy. Good-looking men can sleep with any woman under a 5 with effortless ease. He will also hold complete power over any men that are ranked 5 or under. Occasionally, this guy will sleep with a 6 or a 7 and spends most of his time chasing these types of women. In the past, I've spoken about the rarity scale. A good-looking man is a prime victim of local rarity. The majority of good-looking men are hardly David Gandy. Instead, they're good-looking on a local scale. The local people, the general public block, worship them as if they're kings. This inflates their ego and makes them think they're on top of the rarity scale. The women above them at 6/7, the good-looking men see these women as 9s and 10s, because locally, they are. On a global scale, to a well-travelled and successful man, these women are 6s and 7s because he's experienced with real 10s. But the majority of good-looking men have no idea what goes on outside of their little microbubble. This is also why good-looking men rarely succeed, because they're too distracted chasing 6s and 7s every day of their life, labelling themselves a player. In reality, they're mocked by the men who sit higher up the hierarchy and have 6s and 7s chasing them. The men who sit higher up the hierarchy have figured out, in order to attract the highest level women, you ignore them, work on your own life, and like magic, they chase you. 6s and 7s, women. Women in this block have a pretty good life. They're not worshipped like 10s, and therefore can get on with their life without being stopped or DM'd 50 times per minute. A 6/7 woman can attract any man globally, especially a 7. Even celebrities will sleep with these women given the right opportunity. They usually end up with rich men who didn't take care of themselves physically, or men with physical rarity but little to average wealth. 6s and 7s know that outlier males and the highest level men will likely sleep with them/date them for a while before moving on. The 6s and 7s enjoy their time in the limelight but know their window of opportunity is limited. These women are coupled up and pregnant before 28 with a man who has regional rarity. He may be a doctor with a yearly salary of 100,000 and an average body. This would place him at the bottom of the rich men bracket, as 100,000 per year isn't glorified like it used to be. The people below the rich men bracket will see 100,000 like it's millions, which is why this man can have an average body, little ambition, a lack of well-roundedness, and still be viewed as a top-level man. These women may also end up with a gym junkie with great genetics and a modest job, a jacked personal trainer earning 40,000 per year, or a 6'5" accountant. Physical rarity. This bracket applies to both men and women. These people are worshipped by most of the world, but are lacking the well-rounded qualities to go higher. Many people in this block are sexual fantasies for either gender. It may be a male fitness model with a perfect body, a male model with the most ridiculous angles and features, a woman with a fantastic ass, double D boobs, or the face of an angel. Whatever your preference, there will be someone within this bracket that drives you crazy. A woman with an average face, poor job, bad personality, but a groundbreaking hip-to-waist ratio will sit within this block and have an unbelievable life. All men will be willing to sleep with her, with rich men chasing her for marriage. The physical rarity block is essential for all men. Getting rich and becoming a well-rounded man is tough, but achieving the perfect body is something we can all do within 3 to 5 years with hard work. Once a man achieves physical rarity, it's like a cheat code, hence why it's different in the diagram. A man who was sat in the general public block instantly rises above good-looking men, women who are 6s and 7s, and is now an equal to women with physically rare features. He ranks above good-looking men due to 2 components. 1. Dominance. 2. When any man gets in shape, his face looks better. Therefore, as a combination, he ranks higher than a good-looking skinny guy. Rich men. This bracket is small, but it stretches wide. It could be from 100,000 per year up to 100 million per year. The men sitting at the bottom of the rich men block are praised by society, but richer men see them as the general public, and 8s, 9s, and 10 women see these men as average. Rich men are just that, rich and nothing else. Of course, they're smart, focused, driven, but their physical health and appearance isn't great, and they rely heavily on their money. These men will laugh at the good-looking men who chase 6s and 7s, yet they will do the exact same thing when it comes to 8s, 9s, and 10s, as they see these women as the final piece of the puzzle / a trophy. Why else do men get rich, right? Rich men fall short of the highest brackets for a few reasons, but can comfortably reach these heights if they were simply able to dedicate a few more years to personal growth. Outlier males. My favourite block because it holds the best of both worlds. Celebrities and billionaires have the stress of fame to deal with. Outlier males can have the perfect life and stay under the radar. An outlier male is a man that's well-rounded and has mastered the big 3: success, assets, and fitness. A wealthy man with a great life setup and an attractive body is able to land any woman he wants. Of course, he has more qualities, but the big 3 cement his place. A lot of rich guys believe their wealth is the key, but being 60 years old, finally making it, and expecting 10s to now sleep with you is insane. This is why it's so important to use your late teens and 20s to build something great. An outlier male is someone that enters the male advantage window 30 to 50 with youth, appearance, wealth, and life setup all in place. Alternatively, it can be a wealthy man with high-level intelligence, youth, knows 5 languages fluently, and travels often. This example of a well-rounded man may not be physically attractive, but collectively he's a standout / outlier within the male population. The idea is to increase your rarity to the point where it's extremely hard to replicate or replace you. This strategy as a man will enable you to land a wide range of beautiful women, and other men will naturally see you as a leading figure in society. The big 3 are simply universally accepted and make it easier to achieve outlier male status. Famous people and billionaires. Sports stars, actors, people with wealth beyond what some small countries can achieve. It's hard to compete with these people as they're put on a pedestal by the media. When there's literally a highlight reel of your last game, or ESPN talking about how much money you make, it's impossible not to be respected and chased by all. Becoming famous or a billionaire shouldn't be your aim. An outlier male is far more rewarding. If your success takes you to billionaire level, then congratulations. But striving for it might see you work your whole life and die without ever experiencing any enjoyment. An outlier male may be worth 30 million, have all the toys, a 10 on his arm, the perfect body, health, takes weekends off, and has 6 holidays per year. I'd take that life over 18-hour days, 7 days per week, and die of a heart attack at 59. The problem with today's society is we play a game of either or with extremities. Example: would you rather be rich or happy? Happiness and wealth, although not tied together directly, are also far from polar opposites. A logical fallacy is, money doesn't make you happy, therefore a rich man cannot be happy. The two are not opposites of one another. They are not hot or cold, so why have we tied them together as a society? Wealth and unhappiness are easy to find. Spend money on flashy garbage, spend all day working, and disregard your health. Your hormones will quickly tap you on the shoulder and deliver depression to your door. In contrast, being a successful entrepreneur with 30 million in the bank a great family life, perfect health, holiday homes all around the world, bills under control, and zero stress is a great life. Waking up each day without a boss, working when you want, there's certainly no unhappiness there. This is why outlier males have such rewarding lives. The world is a playground, and nothing is off limits except for the biggest toys such as a £200 million yacht or a sports franchise. But who cares when you have everything else? Of course, you could still be a billionaire outlier male, but most billionaires have little to no time for anything but work. Look at Elon Musk. Lifting weights would make him the perfect man, but he simply doesn't have time. Money is great, youth is great, fitness is great, intelligence is great, a nice house is great. Outlier male simply builds a life that includes multiple features rather than taking one to the absolute max and disregarding everything else. Social hierarchy summary. 1. Become an outlier male if you're ambitious and motivated. 2. Get the perfect body and achieve physical rarity if you'd rather an easy climb and life with multiple benefits. Darwinian male. It's not the strongest of the species that survive. It's the one that is the most adaptable to change. Charles Darwin. The world isn't what it was even 10 years ago, and further change is coming at an accelerated speed. To summarize the theory of the Darwinian male, a term I coined roughly 6 years ago to describe the need for daily male self-improvement, we must take a look at the subheading I created to pair with the concept. What was once praised is now expected. There was a time when a man's surname or title was enough to secure him a wife. In the roaring 20s, a guy having a car was a game changer. It signified immense wealth. During the 90s, a six-figure salary sent shockwaves throughout the neighborhood. Today, however, a doctor making 6 figures per year and driving a Range Rover is completely ignored by beautiful 18-year-old women making $100,000 per month on OnlyFans from their bedrooms. Let's put this into perspective. 100 years ago, wrongly, a woman's only chance of achieving her goals was to marry a man. Let's say that although the woman was intelligent, creative, and hard-working, it was the man who went to work and she was told to become a good housewife. Let's say the man worked at a factory, mid-level, and did okay for himself. For the woman, he would be a great catch. She could get her own home, start a family, and be a respected woman in the community. Fast forward to 2020, and the picture is wildly different. Let's use the same guy. He's mid-level, working in a factory, doing okay for himself. The woman 100 years into the future has been to university, has an active gym schedule, invests in stocks, and has a mortgage. She gets employed at the same company the man is at as his manager. She makes double what he makes, she's more educated than him, has her own house so she doesn't need a man, and due to the gym, she looks fantastic. The man is obsessed with her, she's his dream woman. 100 years ago they were married with children and he held all the value. In today's world, she wouldn't look at him twice, has thousands of better options, and she holds all the power over him. Let's do a second scenario. 50 years ago, an 18-year-old joins the workforce. He's bossed around, laughed at, paid far less than the senior staff, and his opinions fall on deaf ears. After 22 years of grinding up the corporate ladder and bootlicking, he finally gets that corner office and reaches the highest levels of management. At 40 years old, he feels accomplished and makes enough money to be considered wealthy for his time period. Fast forward to 2020, and the same career trajectory just isn't needed. An 18-year-old can bypass 22 years of graft and anyone older than him by making $100,000 per month from home on the internet. The 40-year-old with the corner office is making $80,000 per year, less than the 18-year-old makes in 30 days. Due to the hard work and long days, the 40-year-old looks terrible. Overweight, stressed, tired, you name it. Life simply isn't optimal. The 18-year-old has youth, time, fitness, health, far more money, and the opportunity to make more a lot quicker. The young man has better access to women, he's celebrated by other men, and life is treating him better. The point I'm trying to make with these two scenarios is, the game has changed and competition is fierce. We're not just competing with other men anymore, we're now competing with women for the same jobs we used to rely on to help us sleep with her. We're not just competing with men our own age anymore, we're competing with 22-year-old tech wizards who can make our yearly salary in an afternoon at half our age. There was a time when men were protected. A small amount of effort was all it took in order to achieve a good life. By simply being a man, you were considered attractive, in shape, successful, secure, intelligent, the list goes on. The system men once relied upon has crumbled, and our insecurities are beginning to show. As I mentioned in the first chapter, life isn't handed to men. It's not easy. However, it used to be. Men are struggling to adapt because there's no blueprint. This is the first time in history a man aged 35 could plausibly be considered a loser and get outranked by a single 30-year-old woman or by an 18-year-old kid with zero work experience or qualifications. What's the answer? It's not the strongest, it's the most adaptable. The men who can navigate this new terrain will come out on top. Those who are preset in old ways will be left behind and piled up with the ever-growing incel population. Young women today are murdering men on the scoreboard. It's not uncommon to find a woman living in the city with a $100,000 per year job, her own home, all designer outfits, a perfect body, a beautiful face, highly intelligent, takes 3 holidays per year, and 50,000 Instagram followers, receiving 100 DMs per day, 5,000 likes per post, and 20,000 views per video. Not that the metrics are important, but you can only imagine how large her ego is, / how she sees herself by way of social value. The woman described may be 25, which makes men who are also 25 think they have a chance, only to be completely ignored in favour of more established men or multi-millionaire athletes. The answer is to evolve as men. No longer can we sit by and believe that just because we're men, sex and options will simply fall into our lap, along with job opportunities and rubbing shoulders with high society's bigwigs, purely due to the fact that we have a penis. If you're not trying to self-improve on a daily basis, in the current strong tides, you will fall behind at a rapid pace. This should include an array of regions. We should aim to become Renaissance men, the original outlier males. Someone who achieves greatness across a range of topics. For a modern man, that should be fitness, health, intelligence, wealth, assets, social skills, body language, focus, mental toughness, daily structure, removing bad habits, introducing good habits, becoming more cultured, dressing better, improved personal hygiene, well-travelled, a second language under your belt, the list goes on. This should give you some idea of the new game. The men who follow this advice will be rewarded in years to come. Those who fail to recognize the changing of the guards will be chopped off. What was once praised is now expected. Never forget it. Straight 7 system. One way in which a man can become a Darwinian male who stays ahead of the curve and reaches outlier male status is by following the straight 7 system. The straight 7 system revolves around an easy-to-follow concept. A man doesn't have to be perfect in all or even one single area for that matter. Instead, he should attempt to reach a 7 out of 10 status in either all or as many possible areas of his life in order to create an accumulation effect. Some of you may be familiar with the decathlon. 10 events, all different in qualities required to excel. A true test of a man's physical abilities across the board. One may become a decathlon athlete if they're a failed sprinter who's too heavy built, perhaps a long jumper with a lightning run-up, but the spring just falls short of the elite guys. These talents can then be transferred into various events, which makes that individual the perfect all-rounder. The man who wins the decathlon isn't necessarily the quickest, the biggest, or the highest jumper, but it helps to be in the top 5 across all of the aforementioned traits. The most consistent man tends to come out on top due to the point system. If you win an event, you get the most points, with each lower placing being rewarded less points. It's very simple. Plausibly, a decathlon gold medalist may fail to win any event. They may finish in the top 5 across all 10 events and have the highest accumulative points total. Men should target this strategy when it comes to their own lives. It doesn't matter if you're not the tallest, the strongest, have the largest penis, are born with wealth, or the smartest guy in every room you walk into. The most important quality is versatility. Let's use fitness models as an example. I have a large amount of respect for the fitness influencers of this world. Steroids or not, they've actually had to put years of work into what they do to achieve the results. However, with the industry being very oversaturated, only the top 1% are making serious money from doing what they love. If a guy has and continues to dedicate his entire life to fitness, yet makes a modest wage, then you would perhaps draw the conclusion that his time wasn't well spent. Being the most muscular guy in the room is great. It certainly draws some eyes. But if you're living in your mum's basement and can't afford to pay your own phone bill, then it's hard to make a case for this guy being someone to aspire to or someone women would want to be with. On the other hand, should a man tackle life with a more diverse approach, the results will not only be more beneficial, but they'll have greater longevity. Using male aggression and testosterone. We now live in a world where terms like mansplaining and microaggression are somehow normal and not considered sexist. This makes zero sense to me, as the terms too emotional or it must be that time of month are widely frowned upon as being unacceptable, although both are linked to gender biology. It seems as though double standards are leading the activism charge, as always due to extremists. Something you've been told since you were a little boy is, be good, don't fight, sit and listen, do as you're told. However, once a man reaches adult life, he soon finds out that these traits don't get you anywhere. He learns that nice guys finish where they started, and trying to fit in just makes you more of an outcast as you try to keep up with political correctness. The men who have figured life out have understood that winners lead and followers wait for instructions. Ask yourself, if society wants you to be a respectable man, why does every CEO/billionaire curse every third word off camera? Why do we have #MeToo, yet 62% of women have a rape fantasy? If being a good boy is the way to go, why in scientific studies do men with higher testosterone always get the woman and come out on top in social situations? This isn't to take away from being a good person, and it's certainly not to suggest that men should rape/ignore #MeToo, as what Harvey Weinstein did was terrible. What I'm suggesting is, the world isn't this cute little innocent place you were made to believe it was. Judges are corrupt, women love filthy sex, wives with angel faces cheat, businesses like Facebook destroy the competition in their first year, men punch other men, paedophilia is covered up by our governments on a daily basis, and everyone from Michelle Obama to Tom Hanks knew about Harvey Weinstein. Look it up. Michelle Obama called him a wonderful human being and a good friend. I don't know about you guys, but if one of my friends was doing this, I'd likely know about it. The people telling you to control your aggression and that testosterone is bad are the same people rioting if they don't get their own way. You're being controlled like a puppet. The only reason people ever stop you doing something beneficial is so that they can have an advantage over you. From my experience in the workplace and entrepreneurship, the reason men tend to earn more than women is due to work rate. I'm sure there are female sharks who would slice any man's throat in a business sense given the chance, but from my experience, the men will work 16-hour days and make business calls on the drive home, followed by an entire weekend of work, just to go back at it again on the Monday. The women I've been around in a 9-to-5 sense and entrepreneurial sense haven't worked like this. In any office, the women leave at 5 p.m. and the men leave at 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., depending on their drive. Very rarely have I seen a woman remain in the office past 5 p.m. unless they're asked to do so. The same goes for weekends. Even female entrepreneurs take the weekends off. From my experience, which cannot be challenged as it's factual, women prefer moderate success to the extent that they're comfortable, not super rich. Men would rather make $1 million per year in order to flex/satisfy his ambition. I would say in conclusion, men are more relentless. So why have I just shitted on women here? No other reason than females have lower aggression and thus testosterone. This wasn't to show that women are lesser or weaker than men. I actually believe due to the HR mindset women have, more women will make better CEOs and business owners if they could get past the initial hurdle. This hurdle is sacrificing clothes, hair, makeup, nights out, social circle, relationships, me time, holidays and other luxuries in order to have a better life in the long term. Instead, this was to show how beneficial high testosterone and aggression can be to a male life. Now, this doesn't mean walking around with a mean look on your face and fighting everyone who moves. Still be a good person and treat everyone with respect, but use your aggression and testosterone in a competitive sense. Ask yourself, why does the new sales guy stay in the office until 10 p.m. and re-enter the following day at 6 a.m. when the female secretary coasts in at 9 a.m. and leaves at 5 p.m.? It comes down to simple biology. The young salesman wants to fuck the secretary and realizes his status and financial worth will open that door. Or so he thinks. It's not always guaranteed, but the important part here is that his testosterone and natural masculinity is driving him to work harder, make more sales and impress a female / rise above other men. This weapon we as men possess is enormously underrated. It can enable us to bulldoze our way through life in an unstoppable manner, yet we're listening to social justice warriors and taking instructions from 16-year-old college girls with zero life experience about how to live our lives. It's time for men to wake up and understand that high testosterone, masculinity, assertiveness, and other traits are key to success, financial gains, attracting women, and rising up the social hierarchy. The reason you're told it's not is so that the game becomes fairer. Men have dominated for centuries due to this fact. Granted, we abuse this and overly abused our physicality, but men will always rule / lead / take charge if their testosterone is high. If you don't think this is true, just take a look at all world leaders in multiple fields. Politics, Putin, Obama and Trump. Sports, LeBron James, Ronaldo and Usain Bolt. Entrepreneurs, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos. Those last three may make you question everything I just said. Many men believe in order to have high T levels and to be a leader, you need to look like The Rock. In reality, any man of any size or proportions can access this major benefit, but have been brainwashed into thinking they shouldn't. No one should aspire to be Hitler, but this tiny, out-of-shape man struck fear into the entire world and convinced the entire country of Germany to go to war. This is the sheer power of aggression and testosterone used correctly, but it displays what effect a man can have on those around him with these traits. We have to forget the notion that aggression and testosterone is negative. An old colleague of mine once worked with Steve Jobs and actually designed the dial on the iPod. He told me that Steve Jobs was an animal. Every other word was a curse word, he was a savage, and always got his own way. Once he told me a story regarding contacting a supplier and asking for a cheaper price. After 10 failed attempts, where Steve got each member of the staff to go and negotiate over the phone, he finally made the call himself. After 2 minutes of shouting and screaming, he came out and told the team he got the deal. People see Steve Jobs as this old man who wears turtlenecks, but I would guarantee the man had well above average testosterone levels and used this to full effect. His aggression is unrivaled, and many have said similar stories about Mark Zuckerberg. Successful men know what they want, they're aggressive and ruthless. Unsuccessful men who struggle to attract women and get treated like dirt are weak-minded and willing to let others control their lives. Never be afraid to speak up, demand what you want, and use your natural masculinity in order to align yourself with your goals. The calendar effect. Have you ever woken up on a Sunday and immediately realized you can take the day off? How about getting to 5 p.m. and believing that the day's work has been complete? What about having a life goal you'd like to accomplish but refusing to start until January 1st? This is the calendar effect. This effect holds you back in life more than anything else you know. In order to move forward and achieve outlier male status, you have to understand the true timeline of life. You're born and you die. Everything in between is a straight line of consistent speed that will not stop for anyone. When you're taking the weekend off, life continues. When you wait for January 1st, even though it's September, life relentlessly burns through 4 months of your existence. It's a scary thought, and it somewhat removes any enjoyment. However, this emphasizes the importance of front-loading life's work in order to provide freedom to later years. Man-made. You must understand for mentality purposes the trickery of the man-made calendar. Many will go through their entire life believing that weekends, birthdays, holidays, days of the week and months are real. They end up living their life based on what the calendar or clock suggests. Just take the average week as an example. Work 5 days, take 2 off. Work from 9 a.m. and finish at 5 p.m. These 2 facts alone create a lazy and limited belief in the mind of those who could potentially be great. The average man gets home at 5 p.m., puts his feet up and watches TV rather than working on his dream. Why? Because you cannot possibly work outside of 5 p.m. "I've been at work all day, I just don't get time," is a common phrase we hear. Second scenario. A man gets to Friday, feels relieved and takes the entire weekend off relaxing with his friends, spending money and going out on dates. If quizzed as to why, the man would simply respond, "Well, it's the weekend. What else am I meant to do?" This right here is the entire game of average or successful. A successful man will understand the calendar effect. He will see life as one long line, and anything he does early will reward him for longer. In other words, front-loading. A man with success in his future will finish his 9-to-5 job and work from 7 p.m. to midnight on his dream because he doesn't see limits, he just sees time. This same man will get to Friday, work until midnight, then wake up at 5 a.m. the following day to knock out a 24-hour weekend shift, 12 hours per day, on his dream. The more you detach from the calendar and the clock, the more productive you become. Many people will naturally wake up at 4 a.m., smile, roll over, and go back to sleep knowing they have 3 hours until their alarm goes off. They do this because 4 a.m. signifies sleep, not work. This is because the clock rules them. A driven man will say, "If I'm up, and then proceed to work. Across the period of a single year, we waste a ridiculous amount of time and ruin our potential. Here are some examples. 2 weeks off for Christmas, don't start anything new until January 1st, do not work on weekends, do not work after 5 p.m, do not start work until 9 a.m, always take your birthday off, 3 years at uni means I must follow the pace of the course, bank holidays or special days such as 4th of July I must relax, I must spend 1,000 at Christmas, get fat and abuse my body with alcohol, I must eat bags of chocolate at Easter, I must take a summer vacation and my mind believes it's okay to spend 2,000 doing so. These are just a few examples of how someone's life falls hilariously short from where they could have been. Take an 18-year-old man as an example. Goes to uni, gets drunk every weekend. Gets drunk on student nights. Goes to class 2 days per week. Lives his life based on September to May and then gets a summer job. Plots his entire spending around student loan payments. Stays at uni for 3 years and follows the schedule, even though everyone knows you could pass the same course in 6 months if you had an outlier male level focus. Just think about this for a second. People waste 3 years of their life doing something that could have taken 6 months if they were to work daily instead of mixing it in with the parties and wasted days. However, universities are a business and they stretch the course out to increase profits. Following on, gets a job, works 9 a.m. to 5 p.m, 5 days per week and rests on weekends, spends large amounts of money on weekends and just after payday because that's what you're supposed to do. Gets married, has kids and a mortgage at 30 because again, that's what you're supposed to do by the time you reach these life checkpoints. Takes summer holidays with his family, takes Christmas off and spends every weekend with the kids. Wants to change and do something big with his life but keeps waiting until New Year to do it because that's just what people do. Quite frankly, this guy has always been and will always be an I want to or wish I had type of guy. There's nothing wrong with taking care of your kids and using weekends to spend time with them, otherwise why have them, right? But I left that in to display the lack of time you'll have available once you follow life's checkpoints. By 30, if you're not married, you're always going to be alone. All you're behind the expected timeline is such garbage. But men listen to the calendar effects and then live to regret it when their life struggles to lift off. If you added up the difference in time well spent between two men, it would astound you. Let's use man 1 and man 2 as examples. Man 1. Works 9 to 5 and no other time. Also refuses to work weekends. believes that he should take a 1-week holiday every year, take 2 weeks off at Christmas every year, and takes a few days off for his birthday to celebrate each year. Decides at 30 to get married, have kids, and tie his spare income down on a mortgage, as he'd like to fit in with social norms. Man 2 understands front-loading. Therefore, he works relentlessly after work and on weekends. He gains 5 hours every night during the week and gains 24 hours on his dream during the weekend. He avoids holidays, birthdays, social events, taking time off at Christmas and other annual events. Avoids marriage, kids, and a mortgage for 10 years longer than Man 1 and is able to reinvest his money. Just by working 5 hours per night and by working 12 hours per day on the weekend, Man 2 gains 106 days of working time per year on Man 1, or 2,548 hours. If this trend continues from 18 years old to 30, Man 2 has worked a total of 1,274 days / 3.5 years more than Man 1, simply from 5 extra hours after work and sacrificing his weekends, not to mention birthdays, holidays, random days off, etc. It's more likely to be 4 to 5 years of extra time spent working on his dream than Man 1, who is governed by the calendar effect. The alarming fact here is that 4 to 5 years is actual work time. This isn't working during these extra years, this is actual time spent working. Having this 4 to 5 year advantage is why outlier males succeed. Then we reach stage 2, marriage, kids, mortgage, etc. The money aspect of these elements is something we'll speak about later on. But just think about how much more time from 30 to 40 gets spent on dates, days out with the family, looking after the kids, picking them up, dropping them off, illnesses, and so on. I'm not saying to never have kids, we'll break this down later in the book, but when you're trying to build a life, these extra hours are pivotal. Man 2, who already has a 4 to 5 year advantage by 30, now extends that to around 10-year working advantage by 35 to 37, the age at which men peak. If Man 1 thought time was hard to come by before kids, now it's an entirely different story. Man 2 is now 10 years ahead, has money, all the time in the world to do the family thing, and can take an entire year off if he needs to, all because he ignored the calendar effect and front-loaded the work. Never forget that time is just one long line. And the quicker you put things together, the more time you have available to enjoy life. There's a misconception that you should enjoy your life when you're young, and if you only ever focus on work, you'll never get time to live or spend time with your family. The people who say this are broke and lost. They don't understand the concept of front-loading. Man 1 will get very little time with his kids as he has to be at work and has a boss who keeps him alive with adult pocket money. Man 2 could take an entire year off and spend it with his kids, all because he was willing to sacrifice his own youth for a better life. No shortage of beautiful women. Beauty is as addictive as drugs, alcohol, gambling, you name it. Many men have a beauty/lust addiction, and it holds them back from ever reaching the top. They place beautiful women on a pedestal and make finding a wife or making her his girl their entire life goal. Other men like to collect beautiful women like Pokemon cards. They'll make it their aim to sleep with the beauty from each continent, or I have to sleep with the model before I die. This mentality will drain all of your time, resources, and self-respect. These types of men will chase around the clock in order to feel accomplished. Like Rihanna said, trying to fix your inner issues with a bad bitch. She's not wrong. Most players, or men who self-profess to loving women, are just insecure and trying to find a beauty to fill that void. You pull up with a 10 and the entire venue suddenly respects you. This is what many men like, but they misunderstand the dynamic. Beauty isn't rare. For every perfect 10, there's another 1,000 just around the corner. When you perform logical maths, it's likely not far off the mark to suggest that 20 million 10s exist at any one time on planet Earth. That's roughly 103,000 10s in every country of the world if we were being overly precise. Now, how many rich and in-shape men are there? Wherever you live, you will come across guys with wealth and guys with great bodies, but rarely will you find both. Now, why do I use just wealth and fitness? Because these two components are almost like cheat codes in the modern world. Acquiring both will shortcut you to pretty much anything you've ever wanted. Naturally, if you were to add smart, great personality, creative, etc., then the man's value increases even more. But if you focus on too much at any given time, you tend to get nothing. A wealthy and in-shape man may exist in a total of 10,000 per country. They're far rarer than a perfect 10, and women know this. This explains why placing women up on a pedestal is so silly. Men have the real advantage, but we simply don't use it. When we have youth, health and fitness, we have no money. And when we have money, we get fat and unhealthy. Bringing the two together will elevate any man to the peak of social value. I have always promoted that men should work on nothing but fitness and wealth until they're 30/35, then begin broadening their skill set/other traits. The big two take the longest to achieve, and without them, everything else simply doesn't pack the same punch. To drive the point home further, we have only compared perfect 10s and wealthy/in-shape men. What about all the beautiful women 7 and above? Collectively, these women make up around 40% of any female population. An outlier male makes up around 1% of the male population. Next time you're worried about finding a woman or will someone beautiful want you, just remember how abundant beautiful women are. Men highly value women on beauty and sex appeal. Women highly value men on success and physical prowess. They can reach 18 and have this advantage handed to them with zero effort. A man will have to put minimum a decade of work in order to achieve his upper hand. Women know this, hence the makeup, heels, push-up bras, lingerie, they're chasing you, or at least the outlier males. Women appreciate a great man because it requires work. This is why chasing women doesn't make sense. The better strategy is to improve and build a life women will compete to be a part of. Beauty isn't rare, outlier males are. Don't chase, upgrade. Something that could quickly derail a man is a harsh breakup. The way to deal with this and pretty much any problem you ever have in life is to grow and become bigger than your problems. Don't chase what you want, upgrade until what you want chases you. As long as you live by this quote, you'll always do well. So many guys get dumped or rejected and get presented with two options. 1. Lower their standards. 2. Upgrade who they are. The first option is the easy way out. It feels better to go and seek a less imposing avenue. In order to upgrade, you first have to admit that you weren't good enough to get what you originally wanted. Most men, including the short, fat, bold and ugly ones, have a giant ego. Men who message me and say it's over for me, I'm short and bold, have the biggest egos. They would argue Chad has the biggest ego as he's tall, handsome and popular, but that simply doesn't make sense. The man with the largest ego is unwilling to improve. He wants to give up because he's not the best and believes everything should be handed to him on a plate. This is the perfect definition of ego. Most incels suffer from the same problem. Their egos are too large to accept that women aren't automatically obliged to sleep with them. I attempt to convince them that by improving, these women become available to you. Instead, they complain, it's unfair we have to improve, why can't they? Or, I'm not getting in the gym just to impress some girl. Which is fine, but they're some of the unhappiest people I've ever met. If they were to drop their egos, they'd find it far easier to navigate life's challenges. Many men don't realize how upgrading works. They think they're chasing to impress a woman. In fact, what tends to happen is 1. The man gets dumped. 2. He works on himself with the desire to either get her back or get back at her. 3. He eventually rises to such a height that his ex/the woman who rejected him no longer satisfies his needs. 4. She tries to chase/impress him and he ignores her for more attractive and higher level women. The same holds true in any aspect of life. You didn't get the job you wanted, you go away and become overly qualified. Now that same job you once applied for is beneath you. The next time that job becomes vacant, you ignore the listing and don't even apply. Upgrading is all we ever have, especially as men. All other options should not be explored. It falls under the category of lifelong self-improvement, and lifelong self-improvement will always reward you. The men who dedicate 40 to 50 years working on themselves every day will naturally rise above those watching Netflix porn and their own eyelids. The first 100k. Regardless of the currency listed above, it seems to be the six-figure total that takes you from average to great in any country, but it's the hardest to reach. Put 100,000 into your account tomorrow, and the moves you could make would be astounding. I've spoken about this many times on my First Man YouTube channel. There's a paycheck trap. We all get paid just the right amount to keep us where we are. Not too little where we can't do anything and revolt. Not too much where we can change our lives within 1 year. Let me explain. If you think 2,000 per month and 24,000 given to you all at once as a yearly budget is the same, then you're in the trap. 2,000 per month is enough to pay your bills, continue your little life, and buy some nice things to satisfy your dopamine. 24,000 could do that with 22,000 left over to invest, start a business, or build a product. The reason these two figures aren't the same is because you can do so much more when a large chunk of money is available to you at one given point. 2,000 per month will keep you trapped in a 30-day cycle that many pretend is a fulfilling life. Thing is, you're doing a lot of the same things day in and day out with very mediocre financial progression. What's the solution? Well, considering no one, and I mean no one unless you're a hot woman who's going to come and give you 24,000, you have one choice left. Frugality, sacrifices, and minimalistic living. This is the end-all and be-all of every success story. Someone is willing to give up parties, pointless stuff, luxuries, their social life, sex, a girlfriend, and then downgrade the things they already have in order to save money. It may take 5 years of living like shit, but at the end of this you'll have the golden 100k, or you would have invested 100k over the period of 5 years, and the results are already beginning to appear. However you do this, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, selling everything you own, working overtime, it doesn't matter. Just find a way to get that first 100k. Most men will go through the first 20 earning years with nothing more than a string of cars, girlfriends, a mortgage, and a baby to show for it. The monthly paycheck trap keeps them in a constant loop, and they never actually save a meaningful amount of money to make a serious difference. Were they to avoid all of the above, from 18 to 30, they'd comfortably save the 100k needed to do something significant. Money makes money, and you have to spend money to make money. We've all heard this before, yet few live this way. They'd rather enjoy a few beers at the pub 6 nights per week, be seen in a new car, and the latest season's outfits. The man who can overlook all of this and appreciate the impact of the compound effect will always come out on top. Whether he saves a significant amount of money and uses it in bulk, or over the period of 5 years invests 20k per year, it doesn't matter. The impact will be the same. Some examples may include putting 100k into an early cryptocurrency and 5 years later cashing in on millions. Putting 20k per year for 5 years in a startup and having that business pay you back for the next 50 years 10 times that amount. Investing that 100k into a property, renting that property, and using the equity to get a second home with intent to rent. 1,400 extra per month added to your wages of 2,000 per month now makes it very easy to buy a new property by the end of the year, which speeds up the next purchase, and the next, and the next, and so on until you have a portfolio paying you hundreds of thousands per month. Purchasing 4 Range Rovers and starting a car rental service, or leasing 2 Ferraris with that money and paying off the loan via rental profits until you own the vehicle. The possibilities are literally endless. The idea is somewhat irrelevant. The important thing is having 100k to invest in big boy ideas. I'm serious. Anyone can start a cupcake business with £500, but certain businesses / ideas / products simply cost too much and raise the barrier to entry. Now remember what we said earlier. Money makes money. The big boy ideas simply have higher returns. Renting out 2 Aston Martins for your new supercar rental company will return 4,000 profit per week. You'd have to sell around 10,000 cupcakes to reach the same numbers. That's 1,429 cupcakes per day, or 1 per minute. Good luck. Having money enables you to make more, quicker, and in larger chunks. There's not a lot more to it than that. By living like a normal human being, you'll simply never save enough, or have the chance to periodically invest enough to see the compound effects being implemented. It's pretty easy. Live like shit for 5+ years, reinvest every plausible penny, and wait for the tables to turn. Part 2. Execution. Fitness is the foundation of a good male life. Vision without execution is daydreaming. Bill Gates. Now that we've covered the mentality side of things, and many of you now understand what it will take to become an outlier male, and how any man can reach the top, it's time to put it into practice. Knowing is just step 1. The hard part is executing day in and day out without any real sign of progress, but with the optimism of a better life beckoning you out of your sheets every morning. So many men that I speak to on a daily basis want to achieve big things in their life, but will regularly tell me that they either don't know where to start or can't take the first leap out of the rut they found themselves in. My answer is always the same, but it's never the one they want to hear because it almost seems too simple. Everyone is looking for something esoteric, that one secret to success that you read about on blogs written by interns earning minimum wage, the one thing women go crazy for, or do this one thing and become successful next year. Anything that follows this pattern is bullshit, written by a lazy cunt getting their kick from telling other people how to do it. This is the closest they'll ever get to being successful or possessing the drive required to actually do something of worth. If you truly want to kick up the arse, you need to drag yourself to the gym, perform heavy compound lifts, and raise your testosterone. The value of lifting heavy shit is enormously undervalued in the male world. Pretty much any problem a man has can be fixed by lifting heavy shit. Depression, a breakup, low confidence, anxiety, gaining respect, getting a date, getting a job, it's the ultimate equalizer. The benefits are vast. They range from, of course, the physical, all the way to the hormonal, which impacts your mood, stress levels, energy levels, and self-esteem. Not sleeping well? Great, go lift heavy shit. Just got dumped and you're falling into depression? Great, go lift heavy shit. Obese and you want to lose weight? Great, forget the cardio and go lift heavy shit. Fitness is the foundation of a male life for multiple reasons, all of which we'll break down here. Improved physical form. The most obvious but perhaps the most rewarding. It makes you look better. There's nothing worse than a structureless man wearing baggy clothes, arms not filling the holes, and simply portraying a weak man. Multiple times per week, I have guys saying that big muscles are lame, the gym is for suckers, or there's more to life than appearance. And they're right on the last one. But is it lame to be healthy, attractive, and to look more masculine? Getting in shape simply makes your life easier. Women prefer in-shape men, other men gravitate towards in-shape men, jobs are easier to acquire, you take less shit, the benefits are so much more than purely fitness-based. Improved body language and posture. One of the major benefits to getting in shape is the way your body looks in terms of movement, bone structure, naked or clothed. A guy with no knowledge of body language who hits the gym for 5 years straight will look fantastic when he stands, moves, wears a tight t-shirt, and strips down prior to sex. Muscle strength and tone influences the positioning of the bones. Avoid the gym all your life and don't be shocked when your neck leans forward and your back hunches over. Men who dedicate a large chunk of their life to the gym will always sit high up the social hierarchy. If you're a man and you're not using heavy weights to your advantage, then you're unlikely to ever feel the true benefit of being a man. Improved physiology. It's not just on the outside where you'll see benefits from physical fitness. Every time you train or eat clean, you're improving your body chemistry. Your hormones will be balanced, your cortisol will be lower, your testosterone higher, more energy, improved mood, the benefits are vast. Too many men see fitness as some alpha-like feature for getting girls. The truth is, the majority of happy and successful people all train in some capacity. Waking up each day with energy and passion for life cannot be undervalued. Whether you're a firefighter, entrepreneur or bus driver, feeling good, positive and energized is only going to help you either become better or become more. Example. The gym gives you more energy once you become fitter. If you've worked all day at your 9 to 5 and you're out of shape, Chances are you'll lie in bed watching Netflix all night because you're simply too tired. This is the excuse most people use to justify not being successful. A fit and healthy guy with a strict gym routine will get home full of energy and be ready to do another 4 hours of work on his dream. Improved self-esteem. With the increase in muscle size and testosterone, it's only natural that a man's self-esteem would increase. Why wouldn't it? Testosterone increases our behaviors and decisions, and looking good makes you feel better about yourself. Any guys suffering from low confidence, simply get in the gym. This isn't to paper the cracks with muscles, this is more so for the testosterone boost. The muscles are just a bonus of hard work. If you put the work in, you deserve to feel good about yourself. Weak men see muscles as a luxury or luck or lame. Strong-minded men understand how many years of 5 a.m. gym sessions this took, making their way to the gym in the rain, having a disciplined diet for years, and lifting the heaviest shit when their body is already sore. Greater respect. A friend of First Man, Steve Walker, personal trainer and male life coach, once told me a story about him and his brother at a bar. They were sat casually having a beer with a spare chair next to them. A guy came over and asked Steve if it was okay to take the spare chair. Steve obviously said yes and thought nothing of it, but Steve's brother was taken back. He said, "That never happens to me. You don't understand the difference your size makes." The message here is that being in shape will command respect. Undoubtedly, men treat other men with muscles more respectfully. A muscular man would make more door-to-door sales, a muscular guy gets served at the bar first, and a muscular guy won't be asked, "How many more sets do you have left, mate?" Easier to attract a partner. Women only date up on the social hierarchy. One very easy way to rise up that ladder is by increasing size and muscle definition. It will simply make you look better and you'll become more sexually desirable. If you refuse to get in the gym just to attract women, then you're a fool. Making your life easier is a no-brainer. There's not a man on the planet who has ever said, "I hate it when beautiful women just come over and find me attractive." Drop your ego, put in a few years of work, and enjoy your life. Wealth without health is pointless. Perhaps the most important point on this list. To understand this concept, you have to think about it two different ways. Firstly, the most obvious. A billionaire with terminal cancer is worse off than a young and healthy homeless man. Secondly, you have to appreciate the male timeline. The majority of men are born poor, and there's no rich woman waiting to prop you up. The reality for most men is to suffer financially and work hard until things start coming together. On the flip side, a young man is healthy, fit, and youthful in appearance. Here's where it gets less obvious. A vast number of men will enjoy that youth too much. They will reach their mid-30s having overcome the financial shortcomings, but their health and physical appearance has become their new shortcoming. Men tend to enjoy one without the other and never combine the two together. When they have the body, they don't have the money. By the time the money arrives, they've let the body slip. The trick is, in reverse, this system doesn't really work. Very few men are born a millionaire and then have to work hard to lose an obese figure. It always seems to be poverty and struggle replaced with poor health and an overindulgence in the finer things. With that being said, we as men must take care of our bodies and health while we're young in order to get the full effect of the male advantage later down the line. You can be intelligent, a nice person, kind, funny, etc., but being rich and in shape really are the two trump cards of a male life. Work on your fitness foundation relentlessly in your youth in order to pair it with the inevitability of money and assets. I say inevitability because the natural flow of life suggests you're going to be better off at 35 than you were at 18. Unfortunately, parents die and the next generation inherit money and assets. Fortunately, as we age, jobs and larger salaries open their doors to us. Certain things just happen/fall into place with age for men, all except fitness and health. If we were to focus on achieving a top-level physique and maintaining impeccable health throughout our 20s, 30s, 40s and 50s, we would enjoy a 20 to 30 year window of peak male advantage years. The perfect male body system. Achieving the perfect male body is actually far easier than the media and popular opinion would like you to think. For generations, people would lace up their running shoes, grab a sports drink and some headphones, and assume that six-pack and the bulging muscles were on their way. Truth is, the perfect male body simply isn't formed like this. From my time with male fitness models, fitness experts, and my own male fitness journey, I have found a single system that works above any other when it comes to building a muscular frame with low body fat. This system looks like this. Use your first year of training to bulk and add as much muscle as possible by taking advantage of beginner gains. 5x5 lifts, mixed in with 8x3 lifts, will do the trick. Occasionally add in a 1 to 3 rep max style day. Once you've reached a significantly larger size, but have accumulated upwards of 16% body fat, cut in order to lose the fat whilst retaining as much muscle as possible. In order to do this, you must continue to lift heavy within the same rep range, but drop your calories to form a 300 to 600 calorie deficit. Over time, the fat will begin to fall, and as long as you're lifting similar weights, your muscle should remain. You see, by doing relentless amounts of cardio, all you're telling your body is, we no longer need this muscle. This is why so many guys yo-yo around on their fitness journey, always looking relatively the same. Once you reach 10% body fat or below, you're going to look fantastic. However, from 14 to 12% body fat, you'll have a mental battle on your hands. This body fat range will have you looking far smaller than when you were at peak bulk, but without the low body fat to make you look ripped. Stay strong through this period and trust in the final 3% body fat loss revealing your hard work. At 10% body fat or below, it's time to bulk again. Every man should bulk 2 or 3 times in his 20s. Gains are too easy to achieve during this time. Your second bulk is a real game changer. Instead of starting from a high body fat percentage, you're now starting from ripped. The added calories will immediately flesh your muscles out once again, giving you a large and ripped frame. Keep bulking until you reach 16% body fat. Within 8% body fat and 16% body fat is optimal testosterone level range. Outside of this, an estrogen begins to rise. Your next cut, repeat what you did before. Only this time, you're only cutting from 16% body fat and already look pretty ripped due to muscle size. By the time you reach 12% body fat or below, you're going to be unrecognizable from when you began. This will be one of the first times you experience the male advantage on any level. When cutting, if you'd like to perform cardio, do HIIT training, high intensity workouts with explosive intervals and short rests. Examples include sprints, boxing, or box jumps. Walking is also a better option than jogging. One thing I've picked up from fitness models is they walk and sprint but never jog. Jogging suits women far better than it does men. This goes for sports too. Playing sports is great, but for building the perfect male body, the two simply don't go together. It's hard to build/retain muscle when you're running around a football pitch for 90 minutes straight, or out on a tennis court for 3 hours at a time. This is why NFL players stay jacked. They explode for 10 seconds and then rest. At this stage, complete another bulk and cut for your third round of gains. Your first round of gains will be 10 plus pounds of lean muscle, your second around 8 pounds, and your third around 4 pounds. Your fourth will result in around 1 pound of lean muscle and quite frankly isn't worth doing. It's better to gain muscle without drastic bulks beyond this point and instead via strength gains. However, by the end of bulk and cut 3, you should be 20 to 25 pounds heavier with 10% body fat. A man who starts at 80 kg and overweight in 3 years can be 92 kg and lean. Although it doesn't sound like a giant leap, the lean part means he'll look around twice as big. Return this man to his previous body fat percentage and he'd be closer to 100 kg looking like a beast. Of course, you could gain more, but this is a rough estimate of the average man's genetic potential. Body language and body language mindset. Tying into the previous chapter, we have body language in the mindset required to display dominant male body language. In this chapter, we'll break down everything you need to know regarding male body language and how to be comfortable with displaying it. What is body language? Body language accounts for 70 to 90% of our overall daily communication, meaning that it's far more important than the words coming out of your mouth. Yet men will stress over what to say and how to say it more so than how they stand, make eye contact, or walk. Ryan Gosling is a perfect example of this, and perhaps my favourite body language utilizer. In 90% of his films, he barely says a word, makes every situation awkward, and women seem to love him for it. The reason for this is his body language. It's what his body is saying, not his mouth. Body language can be the difference between getting the interview or not, getting the girl or not, sealing the business investment or not. Now, this doesn't happen because people are reading your body language and then judging you on it. In reality, the average person has no idea about body language. Instead, they're judging you unconsciously off instinct. Body language is perhaps the oldest language. We were reading the body language of a potential threat long before we were speaking. This is why when you meet someone you get that good feeling about this guy, instinct. Or, I don't know what it is about that woman, but I find her so sexy. If this happens, it's body language. Your brain is unconsciously picking up on cues you didn't realize were there. The end result is a 7 to 21 second window where we make a snap judgment of someone, or they make a snap judgment of us. If you don't think this is something you need to worry about, just remember, first impressions stick like Gorilla Glue. Eye contact. The most essential part of a body language arsenal is good eye contact. Without this, everything else you do will fall apart. Eye contact will control any negotiation, sexual encounter, or argument. Once you learn how to master eye contact, it will feel like a cheat code. So how do you do it? Eye contact is tricky. Every cell in your body will tell you to look away after a certain amount of time, but you shouldn't. Here's the scenarios you will face. Catching an eye accidentally. You're walking along, you see a beautiful woman, suddenly she looks right at you. Your heart jumps and you look away or at the ground. Bad move, very submissive. It goes against everything we're taught, but you need to hold that eye contact, even more so in this scenario. If you look away, it signifies that you just got caught. Continue looking that woman right in the eye, as it signifies you don't want to hide. That's rare. When talking to women. You may be on a date, you may see an old friend, you may be speaking to a beautiful cashier. Whatever the situation, eye contact is key. It's almost impossible to reverse someone's first impression of you. This is why eye contact is so important during interactions. You have to assert dominance early and often. There is no skill here or secret tip. Simply hold eye contact while you talk to the woman. It's that easy. As I said, nearly all men will look around, scratch, swing their arms, glance around the room, etc., etc. Quite frankly, once you know what you're looking for, it's embarrassing watching fellow men behave this way from such a simple interaction. When you hold eye contact for extended periods of time, you will naturally assume the person opposite thinks you're strange as you're not comfortable doing this yet. The individual may even call you out and ask, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Or "You're very intense." You don't have to justify why you're holding eye contact. Just continue holding and smile. Only move on when you'd like to. The only tip I can give you is to try it. Next time you're out in public paying for gas/fuel, or even speaking to a girl, friend/someone you know, try this and watch the difference in their reaction to you. Talking to other men. Men take eye contact personally, so watch out. Look at the wrong person too long and you may be in a fist fight, but this again is rare. When speaking to other men, or when in groups of men, make sure you're always the last to look away. Other men won't admit it because of our egos, but you will slowly see yourself climb up the unspoken pecking order. Something in our subconscious tells us that this is a serious man who needs to be respected. Even though someone may be able to kick your ass, they will treat you with respect. Speed of movement. Step 2 of any male with superior body language is speed of movement. It's not really something you think about, right? Moving at different speeds? What does that even mean? In short, weaker men move fast, they jerk, they shuffle, they react subconsciously. Outlier males move at their own pace, everything is done calmly and smoothly. They respond rather than react. I'll explain. A lower level man will turn his head and look at everything. Sometimes I see guys turning their heads to look at every woman that walks past. It's embarrassing. Relax. Go about your business calmly. My advice when it comes to speed of movement is to slow everything down, make deliberate movements rather than jerky movements. Don't be one of those guys who's looking around at everything and anything. You need to give off the impression that you've done and seen everything before. Take the world in your stride. Look at everything from the front of the eye, not the side of your eyes. That's a prey move. If you're in a club, reach for your drink slowly. Bring it back towards your mouth slowly and tilt it slowly. Obviously not in slow motion, but at a slower speed than normal, as if you are comfortable and own your surroundings. That's all it is at the end of the day. You're showing that you are comfortable and that you own what's around you. The rule of thumb is to move like you're in treacle. Men who move slower will always appear calmer and more dominant than those who dart around like rabbits. Those men that are hurrying around, reacting to everything they see, will never attract the highest level women or be respected by other men. Top level men are not only aloof to women, but to everything that goes on around them. This is why bad boys are so attractive to women and other men want to be them. My tips for you would be to walk slower, relax your body, lower your shoulders, reach for stuff slower, get up slower, sit down slower, turn slower, and follow your eyes. Don't let your eyes lead you. Tonality. Tonality is speech, which makes it a strange title to have in a body language chapter. Tonality in sales is worth 93% of a phone call. Granted, this is because the person can't see you, but it displays how the words you're saying aren't as important as how you're saying them. This is a line from the film Hitch, which is also about attracting women. Tonality focuses on the way that we speak, the type of sounds that are coming out of our mouths. This involves tone, pitch, speed of speech, stutters, pauses, and more. People don't realize how much the way we sound influences those around us. Just look at the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort. Jordan was a master salesman. What does he teach people in sales today? Not the words he says, but the tonality in which he says them. Humans have a subconscious that recognizes patterns, specifically speech patterns. In sales, a rhythm of positive words said in a certain way to evoke certain emotions are used. For example, "Hi John, it's Chris from blank," uptone. "I called last week," assertive tone. "We discussed the financial pack." Say both words slower and with emphasis. "Does that ring a bell?" Uptone. Believe me, even if people don't remember, they'll say yes. People can be influenced extremely easily. That's why I must remind you to use everything you learn in this chapter ethically. Women and your friends are also no different. They just need a different approach. Tonality can convince people to do something they normally wouldn't want to do or don't want to do in real time. Here's how to use high-level male tonality. Vin Diesel is a great example. Now you don't have to talk as deep as he does, but his style is a great example. Vin is not a great actor. He's made a career out of being stocky, masculine, and having great tonality. Here's how. Vin talks slowly. Why? Because outlier males get listened to. Have you ever noticed how someone who is not a high-level man in a group gets talked over? This is because people have no respect for those who are further down the pecking order than they are. This means that lower-level men talk quickly as they know they have a limited time to get their words out. This is a learned habit, perhaps from their childhood, or learned experience during their teenage/early adult years. High-level men talk slowly, as they know they will not be interrupted and will have time to get their words out. The impact will surprise you. If you start talking slower, people tend to listen to what you have to say. Just look at politicians. Obama was famous for talking slowly. Secondly, you should speak in a lower tone. People who speak in a high-pitched tone sound weak. That's why females have higher-pitched voices. Relax when you speak. There's a function in the majority of people which makes their voices higher-pitched when speaking to a new person/meeting somebody for the first time. This is amplified when speaking with women, as according to research, men want to show women that they are not a threat. However, women prefer a calm man with a lower voice. Research has shown that most men increase their pitch when speaking with women, which actually ruins their chances of making her attracted. Monitor yourself next time you speak with a woman. See what happens to your voice when you first encounter her. For most men, their voices go up in tone and immediately put them on the back foot. This is a sign that you are, number 1, intimidated by her, and 2, excited to see her, both signs of a weak or thirsty man. The higher level man will not change how he sounds. He will act indifferent and will greet the woman in the same pitch he has been talking to his boys in all day, even if it's a surprise greeting. Ums and ahs. Your next task is to get rid of ums and ahs. Pauses are your best friend. Many men will use ums and ahs after every sentence because they are afraid of silence. They want to fill that space because they feel awkward. High-level men will embrace the silence and use it to think about their next sentence or bravely say nothing at all whilst maintaining eye contact. Ryan Gosling is a master of this art. Ending sentences. The end of sentences should force your tonality down like a statement. Most people, however, in the modern era, will force their tone up, like a question to appear submissive, or for sales usage. Most people, however, especially in the modern era, will force their tone up, like a question to appear submissive, or, for sales usage, empathetic. Listen to any of the Kardashians as an example. I didn't want to go. I thought it would be better, but it was okay, I guess. Hopefully you read that, how it's been written, and get an idea of how not to speak as a man. This uplift at the end of sentences, inflection point, is a very submissive move in a tonality sense and should be avoided. Why? Questions are considered as asking for permission. By raising your tonality at the end of every sentence, you're asking for permission/questioning yourself with everything you say. This doesn't come across as being very assertive. Try to lower your tone at the end of sentences and make what you say a statement rather than a question. Imagine a woman asking you what you want to do tonight. Response 1. That Italian place in the city is good, don't you think? Uptone question. Response 2. Let's go to the Italian place in the city. Response 2 is winning every time. Women want a man who takes control, not one that asks her what she wants in a submissive tone. Say it in the right way and it's not even a question. It won't be a debate. She will think you have already decided and she is happy to follow your lead. The same goes for men around you. If you use that questioning, submissive tone, then 2 things will happen. You'll have more friends, but everyone will walk over you. Having more friends sounds great, right? It's not. Every person I have ever known who has a lot of friends is usually weak, agreeable, lazy, demotivated, and unsuccessful. A high-level male is a leader. You don't have to be liked in order to have what you want in life. This doesn't mean you should be a dick, but you should understand that certain traits and body language habits will make weaker, more submissive people hate you. This is where you get certain groups of men who hate anyone who's better than them at anything. They're full of excuses. They make others dislike you and they possess young female-like traits. Standing posture. Standing feels awkward. Many worry about what to do with their arms, do they look weird, etc. Women do this without thinking. Why? Because women are in their heads a lot, thinking about how others view them. I stand with my legs shoulder-width apart and toes pointing at a 45-degree angle. Upright posture, arms just away from my sides, and chin parallel to the ground. Shoulders should also be down and back to emit a very relaxed and composed posture. This will convey to those around you that you are very comfortable within your surroundings, especially if somewhere is very busy. This might be the rarest high-level male trait that I've seen. Maybe 99% of people will opt for leaning or using their phone when left to stand alone, or likely both. The man who opts to stand and take the world in will be noticed. This cannot be forced, otherwise people will realize. This can be used when standing in clubs, out in public, or even when waiting in line. Remember, if you are holding anything like a drink, a coat, or a bag, to keep it low. If you use it to cover yourself/hide behind, it signifies weakness. An example would be holding your coat with both arms in front of your midsection. This says to the world that you are intimidated and need protection between them and you. This is a scared male trait. Final tip. Do not shuffle. So many men shuffle from side to side as it looks like they're doing something. You need to become comfortable with doing nothing. Seated posture. Seated posture is a little more elaborative than standing posture. There are a few keys to seated posture. Wide feet. Your feet should be separated without it looking unnatural. A good measurement is to align your heels with your armrests at a 95-degree angle. By doing this, you take up more space, which is something we will talk about later. Wide legs. Having wide legs is the same as feet. However, it does one extra thing. It exposes your testicles, which is a form of dominant body language. You'll see guys in photos with hands clasped in front of their testicles, and there's usually a high-level man with their hands spread over that guy's shoulders. It's so obvious to spot who is the leader in every group. By covering your testicles, it signifies fear and a lack of masculine energy. You should spread your legs and be comfortable in doing so. Sit upright. Sitting upright is key. Slouching in your chair is a beta move. So many people in the modern era, especially men, have a slouching posture where they slide down in the chair or lean forward with elbows on their knees. The correct way to do it is to sit in the whole chair. A lot of people sit on the edge of their chair as if they're not comfortable and need to get out quickly. A confident man will sit back in the whole chair with their butt at the back. This makes them appear relaxed and at home, whilst allowing their back to perfectly push up against the backrest. If there isn't a backrest, let's say a bar stool, then a confident male will sit upright regardless of it aching over time, with their shoulders back and down. Arms wide. Having your arms wide, or at least on the armrests, is a dominant move. You can even clasp your hands behind your head. A weaker male, and someone that women are not paying attention to, is the guy wrapped up in his chair, looking down at his phone, and shoulders and hands tucked in close to the body, perhaps even covering his testicles. Taking up space. This leads us straight into our next point of taking up space. Taking up space is the most primitive, chimp-like behavior we can do, but it works. Stretching out and appearing more relaxed and in control has a great impact on how we perceive someone. Big men are celebrated because they're taking up more space than others. Small but dominant males are masters at taking up space. They will monopolize every piece of furniture, leg space, or limited resources around them. This is how, even with such a slight frame, they're able to assert much higher levels of dominance than expected. This could be on a train where there's only one armrest either side and you take both. It could be stretching your arms across the back of two seats when there are people you know sat in them. Or it could even be as simple as standing with your feet placed a little wider apart in a crowd. Taking up space is exactly what it says on the tin. The reason it works is because it displays ownership of a larger area of resources, which is strangely attractive. It's a primitive reaction that we all have, but seeing someone take up a lot of space makes us believe that they are the head/alpha chimp, otherwise why would they be doing this/getting away with this? Another form of taking up space is whether you are the one who moves out of the way or not when someone is walking towards you. Are you the one who moves sideways, tucks their shoulders in, or are you the type of person who keeps walking and believes the other person should move? Is this rude? Yeah. Should you do this to everyone? No, of course not. Move out of the way for kids and elderly people. However, if you want attractive body language, then be the man who doesn't break stride for others, as it looks very commanding to those watching, especially women. If you were to ask a woman about this, she'd say it's stupid, rude, and won't work. However, subconsciously, she'll find this man attractive without knowing why if she saw this take place on the street. Walking. To walk like a high-level man is somewhat intimidating. Most people are scared of what others think about them. Therefore, walking in this manner will bring attention. If you truly want to emit attractive body language, then you have to be ready for people to look and to judge you. You will be going from someone who is trying not to be seen to someone who cannot be missed. This is why low-confidence men behave the way they do. They do not want to be seen, and they do not want to cause any issues. Therefore, they scatter around in a tightly kept ball. By walking in a confident manner, you show others that you are a strong, confident, and powerful man, which not everyone likes, but women will love. I know women who have dated a man purely because of the way he walks. Here's how to master the walk. Step 1, heel to toe. You need to walk with longer strides. This displays longer legs, which is deemed as attractive due to height. even if you don't have long legs or height on your side. You have to make the most of what you do have. The way to do this is by stepping from heel to toe. What does this mean? You put your heel down first and the toes follow. This is a trick to increase your stride length. Step 2. Chin parallel to the ground. Having your chin parallel to the ground gives you a confident appearance. Never look down at the ground unless you're stepping onto a curb, etc. Looking down at the ground, especially when walking, is a sign of submissiveness. There's a reason why children do it, and parents ask those children, "What's the matter?" It doesn't give off the best signals to those around you. You should instead have the chin parallel to the ground, giving you a forward-facing posture. Step 3. Look into the distance. Looking into the distance gives you a sense of purpose, as if you have a destination to get to. You don't want to be aimlessly strolling around looking at everything like a casual Sunday shopper, unless of course you are. It's no secret that women love an ambitious and successful man with drive. Looking into the distance gives that impression. A man with a target/goal in his sights is attractive. It's also 100 times better than walking along and looking at every woman in sight with your head on a swivel. Women, especially attractive ones, will always remember and be curious about the one guy who doesn't look at her because he has more going on and she isn't his main or even secondary focus. Step 4. Shoulders back and down. We spoke about this earlier and it's relevant again here. Having tight and upward shoulders isn't attractive. It means you're not relaxed. When Conor McGregor fought Jose Aldo, McGregor was loose and relaxed. Joe Rogan even mentions this in the commentary. Aldo, however, is tight and compact. You can visibly see this in the seconds prior to the fight beginning. Having high and tight shoulders is not attractive. Having loose and relaxed shoulders that are back and down has two advantages. It gives the impression that you are comfortable in the current surroundings. It makes your chest look larger, which is every man's best friend. Step 5. The abs walk. Coined by Dr. Mike Mew, the orthotropic specialist, who you may have encountered in one of our videos, this term means that your abs are straight and you are engaging your abs when you walk. This again has two advantages. 1. It makes you look taller/slightly more confident. 2. It will create better abs and posture over time. Step 6. Speed of movement. Again, we touched on this earlier, but it's required again. Walking with longer strides but slowing everything down is a real confident male move. Think of the people who walk fast. People late for class, nerds in films, employees scared of being late, shy women. If you've ever seen a silverback stand on its back legs and walk, you will understand what I'm talking about. Conor McGregor's famous walk is a prime example, but of course very over-exaggerated. Head posture. Modern life is making us uglier, there's no debate. We're looking down at our phones, computer screens, and more devices. We're using our jaw muscles less, and we're keeping our mouths open more. Our faces are growing incorrectly. This is something we will go into detail for in a later chapter. This is leading to weak necks, jawlines, tongues, and more. This is causing hunchback posture with a slight lean forward. No matter how good your body language is, it's hard to act like a dominant man without a chin, jawline, or correct head positioning because everything will not align correctly. Interacting with others. Being around strangers is where most will fail with their body language. It takes a lot of practice to be carefree and to get this right. Anyone can be confident around those they know or around friends, but your body language needs to be automatic in order to succeed every day in unexpected circumstances. Let's look at some examples of those circumstances now. Handshake. Always go in strong and shake firm. If you want to appear dominant, then turn their hand during the shake until yours is on top. One mistake a lot of men make when shaking hands is reaching. Don't ever be in a situation where you're reaching a hand. You should step forward if needed so you can avoid that awkward finger handshake where your hand didn't go in far enough. When shaking someone's hand, make sure you hold eye contact the entire time. No one likes to do this, which will earn you a lot of respect. One-on-one conversation. Always hold eye contact. Move as little as possible. These are the two rules I would give any man regardless of who they are speaking with. Too many men look around, scratch, shuffle their feet and look awkward. You should stand firm with flat feet and maintain eye contact even if nothing is being said. You have to remember, silence is awkward. It takes two people to have a conversation. If it's silent, it's their fault too. Feeling like you have to fill that emptiness is an insecurity. Group conversation. Look everyone in the eye and move your head slowly to look at each person in the eye as you speak. When doing this, do not look at the corner of your eye. Follow your eyes with your head, but do it slowly. This is how to command a group conversation. Secondly, you should talk from your chest. If someone interrupts you, you've failed. The best salespeople don't get interrupted. Why? Because they sound sharp and assertive. A rookie who is whispering and stuttering has to be interrupted because it's painful to hear. Remember not to move a lot in this scenario. Your feet should be wide and planted with shoulders back and down, just like the standing posture. It's your head that will turn 180 degrees at most. Seeing a beautiful woman. Common mistake. Guy going about his day, beautiful woman in short skirt unexpectedly appears and his mouth falls open slightly. Eyebrows go up and eyes widen. Just like a kid at Christmas, he has just ruined his chances with this woman regardless of his next moves. A woman like this gets looked at by every man in the same manner. A man who unexpectedly sees a beautiful woman and doesn't change his facial expression, instead looks her right in the eye until she either looks away or down, will certainly be considered high value by the woman. Secondly, never turn more than 45 degrees when looking at women. If you have to physically turn your body or crane your neck to see her, then your power has been lost. If she isn't within your field of vision, then I'm sorry, but you have to man it up and keep moving forward. You'll see another one soon enough. If you approach her after turning your head or body, then this is the only exception. But you have to go straight over, otherwise it won't work. Seeing two or more beautiful women. Pick one, the first one who caught your eye, and stay focused. Do not look at the other one. Why? Because this gives the impression that you are an uncertain man and a potential cheater. Pick one and stick to giving her all of your eye contact. Clothing is your friend. If you want to improve your body language, you will have to upgrade your wardrobe. Having baggy clothes with no shoulder or V-shaped torso structure will hurt your chances of standing out. Spend a day shopping and opt for clothes that provide you with improved posture. Only the likes of Vin Diesel can get away with a baggy shirt. However, even he looks better when that t-shirt is down one size. Unless you have the body of a god, then you will need to improve your wardrobe. Extra bad habits to avoid. Scratching, touching your face, looking behind you, walking too fast when entering clubs/headed out. I see so many guys around 8/9 p.m. walking to bars with a can/bottle in their hand, rushing to the venue as if they're desperate for sex and to get drunk. This is such a weak habit. Mumbling, both hands in your pockets, open hand postures. This is where you show your palm as if to say it wasn't me. This is submissive behavior. Turning when you hear people laugh. This makes you appear insecure. Covering your mouth when you laugh. Behaving differently around beautiful women/dominant males to how you would everybody else. People notice. Mentality of good body language. As we discussed, good body language brings attention. Sometimes unwanted if you don't possess that natural level of confidence. It takes a certain level of bravery to display dominant male body language because it's against the norm. Society wants you to roll up into a protective ball and stay hidden as you move through life. Instead, you need to embrace being a leader or a point of interest for so many others. Expect attention and get used to it. The first thing you should do before practicing anything you have read is to practice this on your own and ask yourself if you want that kind of attention. I would recommend yes, as it will enable you to attract the best women, get respect from men, and open up opportunities such as high success during job interviews and even business negotiations. I want you guys to understand and believe that this is how a man should act, regardless of who you are. Spoken word congruency. There's no use in having the world's greatest body language and coming across as a positive high-level male if everything that comes out of your mouth is weak, negative and submissive. You should aim to start using positive words such as I will rather than if I can. A high-level man or someone who women and men want to be around leads by example. Constantly complaining about small issues will ruin everything you are working towards with your improved body language. In order to put everything into full effect, your body language, tonality and words need to be in complete congruency. Predator versus prey. In body language, we take huge inspiration from the animal kingdom. One of the major features from this world is how predators move in comparison to prey animals. Here are the differences. Predators: eyes forward facing, almost never look behind, move slow majority of the time, stand tall when provoked, appear sharp, step confidently, celebrated by the world over. Lions, tigers, polar bears, cheetahs, sharks and eagles are considered more popular than rabbits, sloths and antelope. Prey: eyes to the side of their heads so they can look what's around and behind them, always look scared, move tentatively with stuttered movements, lift their heads to every single noise they hear, run at the first sign of danger, prance or tread lightly. Can you start seeing the differences? Obviously, some of these animals would lose their life if they stood tall and took on a lion, but that's them. Humans are different. We are not being attacked each day, we're smarter than that. Our battlegrounds are boardrooms, first dates, or even sports arenas. We can choose if we want to be predator or prey. You have that power in your hands, so use it. The world around you. This final section is all about reacting. A dog barks, or a glass smashes, perhaps a car honks its horn. How do you react? Do you jump? Immediately turn around to see what happened? Or do you act aloof and get on with what you were doing as if you've seen/heard it all before? Many men are in the first category. Most people will make an enormous effort to find out what every noise is. It's very attractive to be unreactive to these types of moments. It sounds so stupid, but it's true. Here's why. Women want men who can protect them and handle all of life's difficulties. Not reacting to a loud noise or surprise event is the smallest version of dealing with one of life's problems and gives off signals that you are someone who she can rely upon. Try this the next time you are out. Walk around in public, preferably a busy place, and watch how many people react to loud noises or anything out of the norm. Orthotropics and neck exercises. If you're not a First Man community member, you may be thinking, what on earth is orthotropics? I first came across this subject when searching YouTube for help with my floppy jawline. After a bunch of clearly bogus videos, I found Dr. Mike New, who I have since filmed a documentary with. Until this point, I always believed the face you were born with was the one that you were stuck with. As someone who was dedicated to daily self-improvement and somewhat body hacking, this was a disappointment. Mike began speaking about how our daily habits and oral posture influence the way we look. He then followed up with some before and after pictures and some big words. I was sold. I began deploying his methods and gave it a few years. I first started noticing hollower cheeks, followed by a wider jawline, higher cheekbones, and more welcomed, a further forward face. No longer did my jawline sit back with a recessed chin. Instead, it pushed forward confidently, creating a nice bone structure. The only remaining issue I had was my connecting neck. I'm sure many of you have seen this before. Perhaps you have it. Someone with low body fat, no double chin, the appearance of a good jawline, but their neck still seems to attach to their chin. It's almost like extra skin. However, with even low body fat individuals suffering from this, the conclusion must be drawn outside of a simple fat loss fix. External attraction. In this chapter, we're going to look at becoming a better looking man and the two methods for doing so. Firstly, we have to clarify the importance of external attraction. All of our lives we've been told it's what's on the inside that counts, and I completely agree. However, everyone in human existence will admit that life is easier and better when you're attractive. Now, if there are methods for enabling you to take advantage of this, then why wouldn't you use them? This certainly isn't to promote plastic surgery, but a natural method that simply maximizes your face's full potential. In order to look better, the majority of people will head to the gym, but very rarely will our faces receive the same treatment and dedication. I believe that taking care of oneself adds quality to life, and that looking the best you can is a show of respect to those around you. Tom Ford. Introduction to orthotropics. To understand orthotropics, you have to understand modern life. We have gone from standing tall with our heads held high, chewing on raw meat, to slumping in front of TV screens with our mouths open, chewing on mashed potato. Our posture, jaw strength, and thus bone structure have adapted to suit the lifestyle habits of modern people. Rather than looking across the horizon for threats, we're now looking down at our phones with a bent-over hunchback. It's only natural that we're not going to look the same if this is a position we're holding for hours on end each day. Just think about the average human day. Wake up and check your phone in bed. Sit in front of a PC all day with the mouth open and neck arched forward. Get home and eat soft foods that have been overcooked. Sit in front of the TV and slouch until it's time to lie down once again in bed, likely with your mouth falling open due to weak jaw muscles from softer food. All in all, it's not great reading for the present and future facial appearance of humans. The good news is, you can change it. Oral posture, jaw strength, and maxilla positioning. Bones are constantly remodeling through the process of calcification. The older you get, the less dramatic this process, which is why children's faces change so dramatically year on year. However, facial changes can still occur in adults if you're willing to put in the work. The work I refer to stems from something many are familiar with, growing your muscles to improve resting posture, except in orthotropics, the muscles are in your face. Muscles and bones have an interesting partnership. The strength and size of a muscle will influence the position of a bone. Studies have found that bones are very good at resisting short-term heavy impacts, yet they display their weakness in a much more gradual weathering-like effect. If the force of a muscle is constantly forcing a bone to grow outwards, then slowly over time that bone will remodel to suit the muscle. This is why people who go to the gym can experience either good posture or poor posture from the same type of training. One man may have gone chest heavy and performed fewer back exercises, giving him a hunchback. Another man may focus on functional training and therefore stands and walks tall. The strongest pound-for-pound muscle in the human body is the tongue. The tongue has been called the seat of facial beauty by Mike Mew. Due to its strength, it has a major impact on the way your bones position. The masseter, or jaw muscles, are the largest muscles in the face, having a direct effect on jaw positioning. Between the two, you have an outer U and an inner U that form the structure of a human face. The inner U impacts the cheekbone position, and the outer U predicts the jaw alignment. Together, one can achieve facial beauty. Everything is connected in a chain reaction of good or bad decisions. Achieving bigger and stronger jaw muscles not only looks good, but will improve the likelihood one can keep their mouth closed. This is important as it's physically impossible to place your tongue on the roof of your mouth with your mouth open. At the roof of your mouth, you have the palate. The palate and the tongue are a similar shape by design. The tongue should rest on the roof of your mouth. This is achieved by placing the tip of your tongue on the papilla, the small pulp behind your two front teeth, and by placing the rest of the tongue, most importantly the posterior third, on the roof of the mouth/the palate. The reason we should do this is due to the most important bone in your face, the maxilla bone. The maxilla bone sits in the center of a face. It connects to your cheekbones, nose bone, forehead, and the upper teeth. In short, the positioning of the maxilla bone can alter your entire facial structure. This is why having a strong jaw that keeps your mouth closed in order to place the tongue on the roof of your mouth directly under the maxilla bone is so crucial. This chain reaction acts like scaffolding. If it comes down, facial recession will naturally occur. Once the tongue is correctly positioned on the roof of one's mouth, the muscle-to-bone influence we discussed earlier can take place. Year after year, the muscle strength of the tongue will begin to influence the bone remodeling process of the maxilla. The maxilla will begin to grow upwards and forwards. This is the key, having a face that grows upwards and forwards. The maxilla will then drive up the positioning of the cheekbone, eyes, foreheads, and take the jawline with it. The maxilla and jawbone work as a hinged pair. When the maxilla moves forward, the jawbone must follow in order to close at the same point. Higher cheekbones will dramatically increase upper facial width and angular sharpness, which in turn increases the chances of achieving hollow cheeks, something we'll touch upon later. This method is around 90% of facial beauty. Master this, and then perform the instructions for 5 to 10 years for the results you desire. Palate expansion. The second aim of the tongue-to-palate connection is palate expansion. When the tongue is pressed up to the palate, it also gradually forces the upper teeth to increase in width. A wider palate increases the amount of space for the airwave. The easier it is for you to breathe, the higher the chance of you keeping your mouth closed and avoiding allergies. The second benefit of palate expansion is a wider smile and a wider face. Narrow faces are deemed less attractive, as is teeth crowding. By keeping your tongue on the roof of your mouth, it helps to avoid both problems. Hollow cheeks. A very rare feature that many of us would desire to have. In actual fact, not too difficult to achieve. The cheek area in which people associate with being hollow and attractive is actually the buccinator muscle. There's in fact very little fat in this region of the face, which can be hard to believe at times due to puffy cheeks/rounded faces. In actuality, this is simply a swallowing error, most commonly seen in babies who suckle rather than chew and correctly swallow. We refer to this as cherubic cheeks. The buccinator muscle behaves like any other muscle. If you use it, the muscle hypertrophies. If you don't use it, the muscle atrophies. In simple terms, use it or lose it. When someone breaks their arm, there's a clear size differential when they get the cast off in comparison with the opposing arm due to inactivity. The same effect can occur in order to achieve hollow cheeks. Mike Mew taught me that we often overlook the ability to not use a muscle. If you can achieve this with the buccinator muscles, then naturally you will attain hollow cheeks. This visual effect is amplified if the cheekbones are higher and the jaw is wider. So how do you use the buccinator muscles less? The most common method can be found in our swallowing technique. We swallow roughly 2,000 times per day. Get this wrong and it's going to have a large impact due to volume. Most people have retained an infantile suckle. They use their buccinator muscles by putting too much food in their mouth and then by suckling the food down their throat. The function of the buccinator muscle is only to keep food in the mouth. If you put less food in your mouth and then use the back of your throat to swallow, you will develop hollow cheeks via muscle atrophy. Your mouth, cheeks, anything but your throat should not be moving during each swallow. Neck exercises and submental deprivation. Orthotropics is life-changing, but it misses out on one single component, the neck and submental regions. The submental region is the area underneath our chin and jawline before you reach the neck. If you feel this area and look down at your phone, you will feel how relaxed these muscles become. This tells us a lot regarding why some men have strong jawlines but excess skin creating the appearance of a double chin. The muscles simply aren't used enough to create tightness. There are upwards of 25 muscles within these regions, but they never get worked. Look at the majority of combat athletes, boxing/MMA. They're pretty good looking considering their profession. Coincidentally, they're also the only people alive who consistently train their neck muscles in order to resist heavy strikes. The type of exercises required to improve these areas are very hard to describe in a book. Therefore, head over to First Man YouTube channel and search neck exercises. Modern daily habits. How somebody gets to a position where they need help restoring their best bone structure comes from our daily habits. Master these and it will become effortless to achieve a good facial structure and then improve upon it year after year. Stop looking down at your phone for hours. Stop slouching. Keep your mouth closed when you're looking at a screen. Strengthen your jaw using mastic gum or phelim gum. Keep your teeth together, lips together and tongue on the roof of your mouth. Daily neck and submental exercises. Swallow with the back of your throat and take smaller bites. Chew your food 30 times before swallowing. Adjust all screens and chair positions so your chin is parallel for the majority of the day at work. Make sure you're breathing through your nose and not your mouth. Don't use things like straws where the buccinator is engaged. Semen retention and porn addiction. The quickest thing that can derail a young man is regular masturbation and porn addiction. There's a reason why most men don't succeed until they're in their 40s. A man's peak earning year is 48 on average. Of course, this is a byproduct of years of work, the compound effect, etc., but also due to a loss in sex drive. Sex, the pursuit of sex, lust, the desire to cheat, strip clubs, masturbation, Distractions can come in many different formats, but it all stems from the same source. As we get older, our sex drive diminishes, and it enables us to become more focused on our goals. If we were able to do this whilst having high testosterone and energy levels as a young man, then we'd be unstoppable, but very few do. A 55-year-old man earning $250,000 per year could have earned that same money at 35 if he had controlled his sex drive. Sexual transmutation. Sexual transmutation is the only feasible method of transferring sexual energy to something more meaningful without suffering. Many try to create a damning effect when they first find out about semen retention, but it always ends with them failing as sexual energy is too much to hold back. The better strategy is to find something to occupy that energy. See it as a luxury, a gift, an opportunity to get things done. When retaining semen, after around 2 weeks, one needs less sleep, has more energy, increased motivation, and has a higher level of creative thinking. If a supplement existed providing the mentioned benefits, it would be worth a fortune. Semen retention may be the closest thing to the fictional drug NZT in the film Limitless. The smart method is to make the most of this power, not to waste it due to sexual frustration. Some outlets for your sexual energy include gym, entrepreneurship, art, conversation, dance, writing, cooking, cleaning. The possibilities are vast depending on your goals. Do you want a clean house or do you want to be a billionaire? The range of outlets for your sexual energy are really this broad. One trick I use whenever I feel overly sexually aroused is to burn off energy. This could be a workout, a walk, you could even drive. For me, physical outlets work best. Then I focus on the mental and creative outlets once I have my sexual energy under control. Dopamine and porn addiction. High-speed internet and porn are still very new when it comes to human history. I believe we're finally seeing the first generational issues arising within people under the age of 35. High-speed internet was made publicly available in 1999. A 35-year-old would have been 14 when this occurred. An age when the brain is rapidly forming into the future man you'll become. Having access to high-speed porn at this age is extremely dangerous for brain development and dopamine saturation. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that acts as a reward chemical produced in our brains. If you win a game, have your first kiss, or pass your driving test, this chemical is produced and recognized by the dopamine receptors, giving you a good feeling. The good feeling acts like a loop. It's the brain's way of saying, we like that, why don't you do it some more? Alcohol, drugs and gambling are all forms of extreme dopamine-increasing activities. This is why people get so addicted. The rush received from being 8 beers and 5 shots down makes you feel good. Therefore, some people cannot handle it and keep coming back for more, when others figure out how to moderate themselves. Porn has become a version of these addictive habits, but it goes under the radar, which makes it very dangerous. An alcoholic will show obvious signs of requiring help, as will a drug addict. A gambling addict will appear fine on the outside, but their bank account will sooner or later reveal all. Someone who has a porn addiction can drift through life for decades without anyone noticing the problem, even themselves. Porn and masturbation are widely accepted as normal in most parts of the world. Telling someone you have a porn addiction would likely receive a carefree response of, "Doesn't everyone?" In the early days of porn addiction studies, a control group of men who didn't watch porn couldn't be found, which tells you everything you need to know. Think about smoking in the 1960s. Everyone smoked because big corporations told them there were multiple benefits. Decades later, cancer rates reached an all-time high and people became suspicious. The same is happening with porn in the current era. Porn is becoming the modern-day smoking epidemic, but it's a silent killer. Porn addicts begin to isolate themselves, develop into incels, and start seeing their social skills diminish. They are happier being alone in their room than in a public environment with real people. Japan, for example, has a major problem on their hands, due to their youth opting to watch anime porn over having real sex. Many believe this is due to dopamine saturation, a scenario similar to that of an alcoholic where the previous buzz is not enough. An alcoholic may start with beer at night and eventually graduate to straight whiskey for breakfast. In porn, this same effect is called the Coolidge effect. The Coolidge effect is defined as a renewed interest in sex when different partners are introduced. Examples include a man getting bored of having sex with his beautiful wife after 10 years of being together. He either cheats, they have a three-way, they add toys, she wears lingerie, or perhaps she changes her hair colour. Another example would be post-ejaculation. A man simply losing that same sexual desire he had for the woman pre-ejaculation. Instead, his thoughts move over to a new woman. He would be demotivated to have sex again with the current woman. However, if a new woman walked into the room, he would be ready to go in an instant. The Coolidge effect is associated with mammals and is thought to fulfill the purpose of mating diversity. If you inseminate 100 women, all with different features and DNA, then you increase the chances of your offspring surviving. Porn takes advantage of this effect, but to an extreme level. Even the best-looking man cannot acquire a beautiful sexual partner within 10 seconds and move on to the second within 5 minutes, the third within 10, and the fourth and fifth under half an hour. Porn allows a man to have sex with beautiful women around the clock, facing zero rejection, competition, or standard daily challenges associated with such endeavours. This creates somewhat of a hyper-Coolidge effect, where any man can sleep with as many different women as he chooses, back to back or in a compilation prior to ejaculation. Dopamine saturation impact. Once a man enters this form of addictive behaviour and abuses the Coolidge effect, he will inevitably experience dopamine saturation. This leads to a lack of motivation, drive, and very often depression. This occurs due to the simple fact that nothing can compare to sex, or what your brain perceives as sex. If you're soaking your brain in dopamine, then the receptors decrease in sensitivity. This leads to not feeling as good as normal when you achieve previously rewarding tasks. Dopamine is responsible for making you feel alive and awake. This is why so many porn addicts never have any energy to do anything. Scoring a goal won't be as exciting, meeting real women feels like a waste of time, working hard on a lifetime goal simply cannot compare to porn. This is why men under 35 are really struggling to find their feet and cannot figure out why they lack the motivation to get up and take on the world. It's creating an internal battle where they want to do something with their lives, but every time they attempt to change, porn drags them back in as it's instant gratification and easier to reach. Instant gratification, a term many of you may be familiar with when it comes to success, but perhaps not something you would associate with porn and masturbation. I have often said on the First Man YouTube channel that porn and masturbation are forms of giving up. If you compare both options available to us as men, you can see why. Option 1. Struggle for years working on yourself, dealing with rejection, living through poverty, tough times and learning lessons along the way, finally getting to a point in your life where you gain the upper hand and the most attractive women are now taking notice of you. Sex in this scenario is earned and will feel more rewarding when it arrives. Option 2. You want an attractive woman in your life. You try for 2 weeks, get rejected, and turn to porn. Your brain doesn't know the difference, believes you're the man, getting all the girls, and tells you to keep doing this easier method. Porn and masturbation are cheat codes. You don't learn a single lesson. It doesn't make you a better man, and in fact, it pushes you further away from your dreams than ever before. Anything easy tends not to be worth doing. Remember how I told you about the male struggle at the beginning of this book? Acquiring sex from the woman you actually want is no different. It takes time. The male journey is a slow burner, but it's a constant rise if you're willing to work at it. We don't experience instant fame like a beautiful young woman does. Patience in the form of sexual transmutation will push your potential to new heights. Take major risks young and plant seeds. Something you will hear time and time again whilst growing up is, go and enjoy yourself while you're young. This comes from the same people who will also say, your school years are the best years of your life. I'm sorry, the years where you're too young to drive, earn real money, think for ourselves, sleep with the most beautiful women, start a business, we're awkward and still trying to figure life out as our parents pressure us to take the safe options. These are certainly not the best years of our lives. For men, the best years of our lives are 30 to 50. We have youth, freedom, independence, money, we're taken seriously, we have a larger frame. Women find us more attractive, and our brains have developed to a point where life is easy to navigate. However, in order to experience all of the above, one must take major risks when young and plant the correct seeds. The defensive mindset fallacy. Property, that's where the money is. I don't know about the rest of you, but I heard this like 1,000 times growing up. Every single adult sang from the same hymn sheet. Pay off your debts, get on the property ladder as early as possible, and get a secure job. These are what I like to call defensive moves. A secure job means a secure wage, and secure wages are average, so that's out of the window. Paying off debts is a good idea, but only if they're a small portion of your total wealth. Most people will save $40,000 and pay off their entire uni debt. Then even worse, they will celebrate this and brag about it. This is a gigantic mistake. Very rarely in life do we have a large sum of money available. Uni loan, alcohol, living at home with parents during first job, paying off uni loan, buying a car, saving for mortgage. Years and years of working and saving, marriage and kids. Peak earning years, bigger house and car for kids, inheritance, paying mortgage off. Absolutely nobody understands these defensive moves for what they are. I spoke earlier in this book about the paycheck trap and how it keeps you exactly where you are, how a large sum of money all at once is the key to making things happen. Yet when people come into contact with these large sums, they play the most offensive moves they can think of. Let's use getting on the property ladder as a perfect example. Most will tell you that a home is a great investment, but unless you're renting it out, it's a liability. That house is lovely, but it costs you to be there. If you were to rent it out, it's an extra income, but it's nothing mind-blowing. Anyone who's ever made millions from property has built a giant portfolio, usually from a large primary income or via a well-timed housing boom. The average rental property will make you around $200 to $400 per month. It's a second income, and all money is welcome at the start, but over 10 years this equates to $24,000 to $48,000. In short, you'd make more money getting a second job that pays $5,000 per year. Granted, you'd have more time. However, there are maintenance costs not included here which may impact you greatly. Everyone jumps to property like it's the end-all and be-all of riches. In reality, it's a very defensive move. I see the logic. People will always need homes. It has a resale value. I might make money, but at worst, I'll get equal value in return regardless of inflation. But no one has ever made a fortune playing it safe. Instead of putting $30,000 into a property, why not put $5,000 in Ethereum, for example, and keep $25,000 in the bank ready for the next opportunity? Although nothing is certain, and most experts are far from it, Ethereum experts predict the coin to be worth $100,000. This is a dramatic increase from today's price of $695. You may be reading this 10 years into the future and Ethereum no longer exists, but the point is still the same. Just take a look at the difference in gains. Rental property over 10 years on a $30,000 investment, $48,000 equals $18,000 profit divided by 10 years equals $1,800 per year, not including maintenance. Ethereum potential returns by 2030 using a 5K investment, $719,000. Even if Ethereum collapsed the day after you bought it, you'd still have $25,000 remaining. The property investment simply isn't worth the time it will take to generate a life-changing amount. People who put all of their money into a mortgage/property they're going to live in as an investment are pretty much just putting their money in the bank and paying rent. This is why banks get richer whilst the average person with zero financial knowledge yo-yos around trying to figure out their next move. Taking risks. A young man with zero ties has the world at his feet. Sadly, most will choose marriage, mortgage and children prior to 30 and throw everything away. We'll go into detail regarding these subjects later in this book. If men could live twice, I believe a very small percentage would choose this path the second time around. Men in their 40s and 50s who are disgruntled or struggling always point towards their youth and regret the decisions they should have made. They now understand in hindsight that taking risks when you have zero responsibilities is the key to getting ahead. A young man can invest $50,000 in a business, another $10,000 in stocks, and $2,000 in personal development without having to worry about paying rent, the mortgage, feeding his kids, getting grief from his wife, or losing the college fund. A young, responsibility-free man has the ability to roll the dice a couple of times before age begins to destroy the romance. But one correct roll is all you require. By safely investing into a mortgage and marrying early, followed by children, you'll simply never know what might have been. It's key to the entire teachings of this book that you take as many calculated risks as possible when young. Start a business, invest in opportunities with a low buy-in and a huge upside when no one else will. Invest in your mind and your skill set. One of these choices could be the trigger that changes your life. No one ever made it playing things safe, but there will come a time in your life when you're forced to. The trick is, by the time you reach that period of your life, money will never be a problem ever again. Planting seeds. We wildly overestimate what we can do in a year and dramatically underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. Everyone wants things yesterday. No one wants to become successful / get in shape or whatever else slowly. Speed is the name of the game in today's world, and it's killing so many young men. Men do not understand male and female timelines, for one, something we'll get to later. Secondly, they are busy keeping up with the Joneses in order to compete in the here and now. If you cannot sleep with the prettiest women today, if you cannot afford a brand new car, if you cannot live in a penthouse, then why are you trying to pretend? You're only hurting yourself. The smartest men plot 10 years ahead. They may sit there at 25 with nothing, but every day visualize the steps required to be top dog at 35 and beyond. They're planting seeds for what's to come. They couldn't care less about today. The smartest men let others chase after women, stretch their finances to the brink, and waste time living while they're working. They know that today's suffering is tomorrow's victory. A man who gives up his entire teens and 20s will be sat in a beach house on a Tuesday, sipping wine with a model at 35, while the men who enjoyed life a little too much in their 20s are now playing catch-up from a position they really don't want to be in, with debts, high bills, a family, and no spare time to change things. Plant seeds as early as possible and think 10 years ahead, minimum. Water and care for those seeds in the form of investment via time and money. It won't be until years later where you'll benefit, but your future self will be extremely thankful. From there, you can make whatever life choices you decide, but planting seeds will prevent problems further down the line. The marshmallow test. For anyone who hasn't heard of this test, multiple studies have been carried out to find a correlation between willpower and success. During the test, a marshmallow is placed on the table in front of a single child. That child is then told, "We're going to leave the room for 15 minutes. If you could resist the marshmallow during that time, when we get back you can have a second marshmallow." Seems like a pretty simple task, and for 15 minutes, any adult could pass this test with ease. However, the children's results vary. The results of the study found that the children who resisted the marshmallow and got a second were far more successful on average in adult life. This speaks volumes regarding our ability to sacrifice in the short term for long-term rewards. Do I buy a new 10k car now and make it easier to get a girlfriend? Or do I experience the shame of catching the bus so that I can invest that money and buy a Bugatti when I'm 36? You may want something different, but the process is the same, whether it's a marshmallow or a luxury hypercar. Sacrifice your weekends and ignore women for years. Although touched upon in previous chapters, these two subjects require their own in-depth analysis. We discussed how working after you arrive home from your 9-to-5 job can be such an advantage, but naturally you'll be tired. Throw in the gym, house chores, and of course the big one, sleep, and it's very hard to find those 4 to 5 hours required to make a difference. In reality, the average person will be able to find maybe an hour or two each night after work to get something done. This will have an effect, but it certainly isn't enough to change the game. Weekends are the key. There's simply no way around it. You either work all weekend or you keep going back to the job you hate. Working on weekends or doing something productive towards your dream on the weekends will be the difference between becoming a millionaire entrepreneur or not, climbing the corporate ladder and becoming MD, or being the next breakout music artist. Regardless of your dream, the weekend is your promised land. There's simply not enough time throughout the week to make a difference. If you are serious about success, you must follow these rules regarding the weekend. 1. Get to bed early on a Friday night, 10 p.m. at the latest. The fresher you feel, the better you'll perform. 2. Avoid alcohol all weekend. You don't want to waste money, lose your shape, or ruin the following day. 3. Perform 12 hours of work on Saturday and another 12 hours on Sunday. These kinds of hours are mandatory in order to make up for the lack of hours throughout the week. 4. Avoid parties and friends. There will be time for this in the future. 5. Get all house chores/food shopping done Thursday after work. This removes all distractions and lost time. 6. Wake up at 5 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday and remain in your work schedule body clock. By remaining in your 9 to 5 work schedule, your body can seamlessly transition from weekdays to weekends, which prevents fatigue. 7. Shower and put on clean clothes, including shoes. Even if you're working from home, you shouldn't sit in your PJs and slippers. It sends the wrong message and will encourage laziness. Shoes are important as they prevent you from getting comfortable and relaxing. Following these rules will grant you the greatest impact. Your dream should be taken as seriously as your 9 to 5 job. On Sunday night you meal prep, you wash your clothes, shine your shoes, etc. for the first day back. Why wouldn't you apply the same effort and professionalism to something you intend to do for the rest of your life? Ignoring women. By suggesting you should ignore women for an extended period of time, I am by no means implying that women are the problem or the barrier to your success. I'm merely highlighting how tempting they can be and how their sex appeal will have you making poor choice after poor choice as you're blinded by beauty. Men and women want different things. However, sex has convinced men that they want the same things women do. Marriage, kids at a young age, prior to suitable financial stability, a mortgage that leaves you both without a single penny. These features of modern life may sound great as your partner dresses them up, but they're what I call derailers. Life lesson. Regardless, if the woman is a 1 or a 10, she will eventually want the same things. These things cost money and they require a giant time sacrifice, useful tools you cannot afford to give up whilst on your journey. Secondly, dating and the pursuit of sex. Fun by all means, but again very destructive if not carried out in moderation. The majority of successful men sidelined women for years at a time in order to focus purely on their own selfish goal. Now you should do the same. Pick a 3 to 5 year period, go female free, or male if you're gay, and think about nothing other than your next move. With weeks already shy on time, the last thing you need are 3 dates lined up over the weekend or your girlfriend's birthday. This is why good-looking men rarely succeed. It's not impossible, of course, but the temptation of achieving life's best prize with little to no effort can be too hard to resist. A 6'4" Herculean man with strong features isn't going to be lonely. Simply walking down the street may end with 5 new numbers to call. How can this man then go home and agree to remain single or celibate for an extended period of time, especially if these women are attractive? In short, most attractive men don't resist, and they end up overindulging in their youth, which enables the less genetically fortunate men to take over as the years pass. It's the typical high school quarterback story. He goes from serving spirals to serving fast food customers. When things are too easy, we tend to get lazy. The men with a reason to get better end up achieving the greatest feats. This is why I believe being short, bold, or ugly work in a man's favour. Instead of resting on his laurels, he seeks out improvement and attempts to make other areas of his life better as a form of compensation. It also acts as an early warning system for men looking to become outlier males. As you rise up that ladder and your options become sexier and more beautiful, be aware of the potential pitfalls associated with overindulging. Outlier male, not alpha male. Before leaving the execution section, it's vital that you understand where you're headed and why. Alpha males may have died out thousands of years ago, according to many evolutionary psychologists. The theory is, the most dominant men weren't liked by the groups and therefore forced out or killed off. As we've evolved to live without violence, the need for a typical alpha male has diminished. It's also a very limited and misleading title. A large 6'4" and strong man could be called an alpha male for no other reason than the physical. This same man could be broke, lacking intelligence, uncultured and lazy, yet his size and strength earns him the title of alpha male. With people believing that alpha males are the top of the tree, the criteria for reaching the top surely has to be more challenging. This is why I created the term outlier male a couple of years ago to describe the true hierarchical kings. What is an outlier male? The term Renaissance man was given to those with high levels of intelligence and were good at multiple things. The outlier male is an extension on the Renaissance man, but more fitted to modern needs. A simple example of an outlier male might be healthy, high level of fitness, good muscle size, intelligent, successful, cultured, well-travelled, articulate, leader, self-motivated, focused, disciplined, well-dressed, good appearance. This doesn't necessarily mean he has to be the best in all categories. Instead, very much like the straight 7 system, he just has to be above average in all areas collectively. This, unlike an alpha male, makes him multi-dimensional. An alpha male can be good at one thing, i.e. sports, and sit at the top of any high school hierarchy. In adult life, however, we require a different variant of social ranking. The strongest guy might be the poorest, which is a very rude awakening during the high school to adult life switch. Try buying a house, car, or attracting a partner with strength. It won't get you far on its own. 10,000 years ago, strength and the ability to protect was enough. But as discussed in the Darwinian male chapter, what was once praised is now expected. Women want men who can cater to multiple areas of life. They require a beast in the bedroom, a professional businessman during the day, and a Casanova on weekends. This is why I promote so heavily to focus on success and fitness in your earliest years. Once these boxes are ticked and maintained, you can effortlessly achieve anything else on the list. Even intelligence, for example. Having money would enable you to take a few years off in the pursuit of higher education. You could travel the world, have a family, meditate 24 hours per day with monks. It doesn't matter. The point is, having money and being healthy opens up a world of opportunities. Dominance versus shining light. An alpha male prides himself on being dominant over others, or intimidating those around him. There's certainly a time and a place for this. I would know, as I have analysed the body language of many alpha males on YouTube and praised certain traits. However, I believe moving forward, outlier males will take the place of alpha males and make them obsolete. Just as modern humans made Neanderthals appear terribly designed, I believe outlier males will do the same. The difference between an outlier male and alpha male will be so apparent, it will border on humiliation. The days of the big, powerful idiot are over. Everyone knows a guy like this. A bully who couldn't find 2 brain cells to rub together, holds old school views, and always believes he's right. The modern era has no place for these types of men, who could once pass as alpha males. I believe the body language will remain, as it's hard to reinvent such an ancient language, but the traits, mannerisms, behavior, and ideology will fail to keep up. Outlier males are shining lights to others. They want to succeed, but not belittle others. They want to be in great shape and then use it to help those less physically able. They want to earn a lot of money and then be an example to the youth of what's possible. This is the type of man who will reign at the top of the modern social hierarchy for the next 10,000 years, just as the alpha male did throughout the last. It's important for you to know the difference. I hope to create role models with this book, not assholes. The ideas behind ignoring women or being selfish when young is due to limited time. Those who make statements such as, "I don't want to be rich, I'd rather help people and be a good person," have no idea how much money would aid this process. You cannot help others until you first helped yourself. They tell you to put your own gas mask on first during flight safety videos as you're useless passed out. 27 is the most dangerous age for men. 90% of relationships that start before 30 fail. We have now reached the best part of a man's life. The mentality is in place, he's thinking correctly. His lifestyle is concrete, and he's executing on his plans, watching his dream life unfold before his very eyes. This is where the key to success and a good male life is all about navigation via timing. Timing is essential to everything a man does. A woman could reach 18, be the hottest woman in any room, marry a millionaire, and get pregnant. She doesn't have to worry about the when. Women only have to worry about the how. Of course, there are women who become career-driven, reach 35 and realize all the high-value men are seeking 22-year-old women. But for the majority of females, it's a pretty easy pathway. Look good, attract a high-level man, use desirability to acquire a mortgage, marriage, and offspring. Of course, women's lives are not limited to this. There are many superstar entrepreneurs who can balance motherhood, or CEOs who represent the highest earner in their family. But it's hard to find a woman on planet Earth who doesn't dream of marrying the man of her dreams, starting a family, and having a big house to do all of this in. Men, on the other hand, have a dilemma that I don't believe has been answered for modern life. When should I settle down, get married, have kids, get a house? When do men peak? How do I find the one? Should I settle down with a woman my age or younger? All of these questions will be answered in this section as we navigate through the rough waters of an outlier male. The value tables are turning. As discussed prior, young women will hold an enormous amount of value without having to work for it. This enables them to acquire better jobs, high-level partners, get into exclusive clubs, you name it, they can achieve it at this age. Women will hit 16 and start seeing more and more men looking their way. Once they reach 18, this value begins to peak and will never be higher than when they're 22 to 23. By 27, the value switch has begun. Men have had 11 years to catch up and start seeing the first signs of the male advantage. A 27-year-old man is full of potential. He's more mature, he's on the cusp of higher earnings, his body is beginning to fill out, he values assets and life progression over alcohol and drunk nights, and women begin to take notice. Something women like to do is find a man who is about to be great and grow together. This strategy works perfectly around 27, as her value begins to drop for the first time as his takes off. This means they're of equal value, which logically creates an equal trade-off that is beneficial for both parties. However, 27 is a dangerous age for a man. It's the age at which most men report having the most sex of their lives with multiple partners, but also roughly the age a man is most likely to meet a life partner. This leads to the inevitable. As the man's value rises and more attractive women enter his life, he will reach his ceiling. A man's ceiling is the best possible life or option he can imagine. In terms of women, a man who has experienced decades of being the nerd or being the virgin will have this imprinted in his mind. Therefore, when a 6, 7 or an 8 comes along and shows an interest, he's fully ready to give up everything for this woman and begin building a life together. You can't really blame him. Imagine going 10 years with little to no attention, then suddenly, pretty girls are throwing themselves at you. You're going to feel like the man, because this is your ceiling. You have no possible way of knowing what comes next. 9 years of destruction. To make this simple to understand and to avoid in your own life, I'll create a timeline explaining how this happens. On average, men have the most sex of their lives with multiple partners at 27, meet their first life partner at 27, move in with their partner at 28, marry at 30, get a mortgage with their life partner at 32, have their first child at 33, have their second child at 36. This might sound more romantic than destructive, but let's analyse the traditional timeline. A man is having the most sex of his life at 27, enjoying multiple women, freedom, and looking forward to the future. A 7 walks into a bar and changes his life. She sees him as the man she needs to move her own life goals forwards and takes charge of the future direction. Many men think they're in control, but in reality, the woman is dictating the direction you sail in. How many men have claimed their life goals are to be a husband, father, and homeowner? In contrary, how many women have claimed their life goals are to marry the man of her dreams, have 2 or 3 children, and live in a large house in A or B? Men hit 27 and experience the first sprinkle of what's to come as they reach the male advantage, only to fall at the first hurdle and sacrifice their own life goals in exchange for the woman's. We then see a very sad situation, where men convince themselves and those around them that this is the life they wanted. They work night and day to provide, never have any spare time, all of their money dries up, yet they continue down this path until something clicks. One day the man wakes up disgruntled, frustrated, and angry at life as he starts to realise how stuck he is. He loves his kids and his wife, but was never able to live his own life or experience his own peak like his wife did when she was younger. At around 36/37, when a man should be at his highest point of social value, this man is struggling to pay the bills, yet the demand doesn't stop. A bigger house, a new car, holidays, school fees, and date nights cut through his bank account, leaving dust for his dreams. Truth is, this man gave up on his own dreams a long time ago. He's simply been living on autopilot for the last 9 years. It's usually at this stage where men have affairs / start recognizing their own high value coming into play, as more attractive women show an interest. He may still love his wife, but naturally a 36 to 37-year-old woman will not look like she did at 27. Many women of this age are beautiful, but very rarely is a woman more attractive than her younger self. Let's take a look at the cost of these 9 years. 1,350 per year dating. Over 9 years, 12,150. Average rental property, 500 per month. Paying half, 250, equals 12,000 over 4 years. Marriage average cost. Wedding, ring, honeymoon equals 30,000. Average mortgage deposit cost, 50,000. Paying half, hopefully, equals 25,000 plus. Ongoing mortgage payments, 670 per month over the 4-year period, equals 32,160 halved equals 16,080. Cost of raising a child from birth to 18 equals 250,000 per child. The average couple has 2 children, therefore half is $250,000. The grand total comes to a staggering £345,230. Now let's not forget, this number comes about after tax, as in you have already been taxed on your earnings, and the £345,230 is coming out of the money you have left. It means you'll roughly have to earn around $500,000. Granted, the 18 years doesn't fall between the 9-year period, but it's money that is guaranteed to go. A house can be sold and thus payments will stop, but paying for your kids is money that's as good as gone the moment you earn it. The average man also spends around £212,000 in his life on cars. Although not directly associated with his wife or family, there's a large chance that at least 2 of those purchases are family cars, as the family grows from 2 to 3 to 4 and perhaps beyond. The worst part of all of this is that many men will not go halves on these purchases. In an ideal world, both the woman and the man front 50-50. But equality hasn't reached this area of life yet, which is a funny coincidence. Many men will go to work and fund everything during the years of motherhood. From 33 to 38, it's possible that the man will bankroll everything so his wife can stay at home with the kids until the youngest is old enough to go to school. Missed opportunity. £345,230 spent on life goals that weren't yours is a real kick in the teeth, as is the sheer amount of time spent acquiring these things. But what hurts the most is the regret. A 40-year-old divorced man will sit there and contemplate what on earth just happened and how it happened. He begins imagining what he could have done with all of that money and time during the same 9-year period and where he'd be now. This is the second major difference between men with great lives and men who are simply shells. The first difference is what you choose to do in your teens and 20s. The second is how you choose to spend all the money you're earning, now that the financial side is coming together. Many men will reach 30, see their income skyrocket, and get carried away. If a man can use these key years from 30 to roughly 35, 37, he will never have to work another day in his life. The first 12 years of a man's life from 18 to 30 is a struggle. The next 5 to 7 years should be high earning. Reinvest this money and reap the rewards. Throw it all away on female life goals and you may never get another chance to save this much until your kids leave home around 50 years old, once your male peak ends. Is there a right time to have children, get married, get a home, etc.? Of course, and we'll break that down over the next few chapters. But remember this, there's no reset button. You only live once and getting the timing right is essential, more so for men than women. You can't have 3 kids, get married, purchase a home, get divorced, lose half your net worth, and then start over. Regret exists because the person knows that there's nothing they can do. Whatever happened in the past cannot be changed. Be very, very careful about making major life choices. Don't be so eager to jump into love, marriage, family, etc. just because she looks good naked. The men that make decisions based off emotions will suffer long term. Men never get the life they want. Strangely, I don't actually blame women for any of this. I don't see anything wrong with what women are doing. They're following their dreams and natural life purpose with relentless enthusiasm. If the man hasn't seen what's playing out, then he cannot have any complaints. A lot of men call women gold diggers. I don't agree. I simply believe women have a natural instinct to leech from men. Women accidentally drain men of their funds via their unrelenting pursuit of life goals. The woman believes she's doing what's right, and since the man hasn't said otherwise, it must be what he also wants. She pushes for children, marriage, mortgage, and a family car because it's logical for her. If the man doesn't speak up to voice his concerns, then it's his fault. Instead, most men are led by the fear of scarcity and losing regular sex from a beautiful woman, rather than sacrificing in the short term for a better life longer term. If the man does not voice his concerns or take charge, the onslaught will continue. Just consider the layout of any married couple's home. Even though they went halves, or in a few circumstances the man paid the lion's share, the woman begins to take charge. She designs each room, requests refurbishments, takes ownership of the bedroom, bathroom, living room/lounge, kitchen, and other luxuries. The man is then relegated to the attic, cellar, or garage. We're handed the cold and dusty rooms to create a man cave, gym, office, or whatever else we're limited to, as long as we stay out of the house. The one doesn't exist. One way to make it easier for men to resist the 9-year destruction is to snap them out of the Disney fairy tale they live within. Love is real, the chemicals produced prove that, but the notion of the one is a fallacy created by big business. If you believe that a woman is the one and there's no one else for you that can match her, you will have a scarce mindset and act erratically in order to secure and keep her. This includes spending $30,000 on a wedding or $4,000 on an engagement ring as you drop the knee and a violinist costing you $200 per hour strokes away. Convenience is more important than love. What we call true love, or the one, in films and fairy tales is nothing more than a preferential sequence of tick boxes that benefit our own lives. Richard Dawkins once spoke about the selfish gene. An example of the selfish gene would be a black widow mating with the male so she can eat him and feed him to the kids. In humans, it's far better hidden. A man may buy a woman a nice gift and take her out for lunch. Seems nice, but there's a hidden agenda. Perhaps the man has noticed the woman has wide hips and large breasts. His subconscious brain recognizes a good mate choice and better health for his children. Therefore, he treats the woman well in order to convince her to be with him. On the surface, he appears caring. In reality, he's acting in his own interests. In other words, the selfish gene. Men and women are equally guilty of doing this, especially when it comes to finding the one. The one is simply someone who was born within a reasonable year to you, in the same area, or in an area you moved to, who 90% of the time happens to be single at the same time as you, has a few similarities, and is of equal social value. This could be wealth versus beauty, for example. Let's test this theory. Man 1 meets a woman who is of equal value to him. They are both ranked around average on the social value scale. She lived locally, enjoyed salsa dancing, and that's where they met. They have dressed the relationship up to be an alignment of the stars. Otherwise, how could they have possibly been in the same venue on the same day, both having an interest in salsa? In actuality, it's not very rare. Man 2 decides to travel the world. He ends up in Argentina and joins a salsa class to become more cultured. Whilst there, he sees the most beautiful Latin woman. Dark hair, dark eyes, toned body, moves like the devil in a red dress. He ends up marrying this woman and also believes it was fate. How else could he have met this woman all the way across the other side of the world? If we were to show Man 1 Man 2's life and give him the opportunity to swap, what do you think he would do? The romantics would like to believe he loves his wife, but the majority of men reading this know the truth. Man 1 would be speaking Spanish quicker than you can say adios. The point I'm making is that we're all living within certain limits. Financial limits, geographical limits, attraction limits, and so on. We all attempt to make the best of our options, and one way to do that is to convince yourself that someone was the one. They were always destined to be with you. It's fate. This choice supportive bias protects us against what might have been. It's easier to believe your current partner is the one than it is to hop on a plane and roll the dice, or go back to being single in an attempt to find someone better. This is why so many toxic relationships stay together so long. Both individuals are fearful of losing something beneficial to their own lives, the perfect embodiment of the selfish gene. You simply cannot meet everyone on planet Earth. You couldn't possibly live in every city of the world. And there's no way you're sleeping with every woman alive before making a decision on who you had the best chemistry with. Therefore, chances are, the perfect person or persons for you were never found. Of course, there's some logic in suggesting that the person who lives where you live will be most similar culturally, etc., and therefore the relationship has greater chance of working, therefore they were the one. But I would argue that the diversity of the world is so grand, one simply wouldn't know what they wanted until they experienced it. A man happily married in Maine would simply never know if he'd been happier with a blonde Swedish woman living in Stockholm, as he'll never experience this. Should he have a midlife crisis and pack up bags tomorrow, in a year's time he may find he's a completely different man with varied interests that are now better suited to this Scandinavian bombshell. He now has a new version of the one, which creates two and proves my theory. How this benefits your own life. It's very simple. You engage the logical part of your brain, you understand when love is masked over convenience, and remain single until your life is exactly where you like it to be. At that point, with more experience and knowledge of your preferences, you can make a more calculated decision. Again, it likely will not be the one, but it may be very optimal to your happiness and life. Too many men make life choices based on FOMO, or emotions. It's better to understand these concepts like love, become the master of them, then choose when they're allowed to come into your life. If you let your emotions sweep you off your feet unexpectedly, you stop thinking clearly. It might feel euphoric, but that effect will quickly wear off in 10 years when you have bills up to your ears. Your dreams washed away and you're stuck in a job you hate, wondering where it all went wrong. Never forget, just because you've spent time with a woman, you're not obliged to marry her or give her the life she dreams of. Many men feel pressured into going down this route with each woman they meet. Women often use men for pleasure, loneliness, etc., until they find the optimal partner. Don't be ashamed to enjoy the company of women in a respectful manner, then pull the plug when it suits you. The men who claim this is cruel are the same nice guys having this shit done to them time and time again. This is why I promote a 3-month dating strategy where things never get too serious, but you're also not distracted by the constant pursuit of new women. When a man is in the later stages of the growth phase, around 30 and beyond, this strategy should be added to avoid an empty life filled with nothing but work. I would potentially also encourage taking 1 day off per week, or 2 if you're already wildly successful. Cohabiting destroys relationships. Unless your partner is pregnant, do not even think about moving in together. Moving in can seem fun. Unlimited sex, her walking around the house all day in lingerie, cooking you steak and eggs, morning sex on weekends, that's the life. The life you won't be experiencing. Firstly, if you move in with a woman and expect this, you're a fool. Secondly, that's fine because the complete opposite will take place. Once you've lived together for 6 months/a year or so, the lust will fade away. You'll still have sex, find each other attractive, etc., but it won't be in the same manner as before. When you lived separately, you probably made a big effort each time you saw each other. You likely used the weekdays to make yourself look good for the weekend. An example might be getting a haircut on a Thursday night before seeing her on Friday night. She might have got her nails done and shaved all over so you find her more attractive. Once you live together, these little acts go out of the window for 2 reasons. 1, you become more comfortable with each other. 2, doing this every day is draining. Once you live together, you'll be smelling her morning breath. You're walking on her taking a smelly shit. She'll go a week without shaving her legs and armpits. You'll have to look after her when she's ill and looking at her worst. Instead of going out for meals, you'll have to do the shopping or the house chores. This is all natural, and personally I have no problem with it. If you want to be in a relationship, you have to expect this to some extent. However, one thing you cannot account for is the mindset change. If you're both seeing each other every day at your worst, most tired, the negative moments, etc., it will build a bond. but it will also destroy a lot of the sexual desire. It then doesn't help that every woman you see on the street is looking their best, which again is natural as you don't live with them and they've made an effort before stepping outside, but it makes a curious mind wonder. Prior to living together, you would clean the house, do the shopping, take the bins out and so on. So that, 1, the house looked and smelt great for her arrival. 2, you'd have more time together to do nice stuff. Once you live together, these tasks become daily routine. Instead of watching a film and going for a romantic walk, you're now carrying stinky bins out, cleaning the floor and unblocking toilets. On top of this, you have to consider your own personal time, tastes and finances. Living with a woman will of course lead to shopping trips for sofas, curtains,